So it really was you? Ning Zhongfei looked at Yi Mo in shock. He didn't expect that the youth he met that day would actually be Yi Mo. So it really was you? Ning Zhongfei looked at Yi Mo in shock. He didn't expect that the youth he met that day would actually be Yi Mo. Lan Yu saw her husband's tone and expression and immediately knew that this was the young man he had met. By the looks of it, it's quite possible that Fei Yu had been chosen thanks to him. I'm sorry, father, and thank you for the bracelet. At this moment, Yi Mo couldn't call Ning Zhongfei brother anymore. He was his father-in-law. So you were Yi Mo all along. Here I was, wondering who had helped me. Be honest, you were the one who helped our company get chosen last time, right? This young man was very excellent. Why would his wife stop him from being with Qingxue? Thinking about Qingxue, Ning Zhongfei turned sad again. This should be a great moment, yet because their daughter had gone missing, it couldn't be good anymore. What happened? Yi Mo soon realized that Ning Zhongfei and Lan Yu's eyes as well were swollen red. Ning Zhongfei sighed but didn't say anything. Lan Yu also found it hard to speak. Li Mumei quickly explained things instead. What? Qingxue has gone missing? She disappeared with a passenger jet? What's all this? Yi Mo's face changed immediately. Qingxue knew something happened to me in the US, so she hurried over, but something happened on the way. Lan Yu rubbed her eyes. She was very happy about Qingxue's position in Yi Mo's heart, yet now, she couldn't turn back things to how they were even if she wanted to. Yi Mo's heart was burning like a wildfire. He simply wanted to immediately get to the scene, but he couldn't act up in front of them, so he could only ask calmly, weren't you fine already? After they let you out, did you not call Qingxue? Lan Yu was dazed, replying subconsciously, I called, but when I did, Qingxue was already on the plane. What do you mean that I was fine? How do you know that they let me go? Did you also help me in the States? Lan Yu immediately realized something. If not for Yi Mo's help, how could she leave so fast? Yi Mo waved his hand, that's inconsequential here. You guys just manage your company and leave finding Qingxue up to me. I'm sorry, Yi Mo. I was a bad mother back then, I apologize. Lan Yu stood up and said to Yi Mo. Yi Mo had already walked out of the room. He couldn't even reply to Lan Yu. To him, it was something that had already happened, apologies didn't matter. Brother, how did you accomplish our company getting chosen? Looking at Yi Mo's disappearing figure, Ning Zhongfei quickly asked. Yi Mo had already left and even if he had heard, he wouldn't come back just to answer this question. Lan Yu rolled her eyes. Ning Zhongfei was a peculiar one for calling his son-in-law brother. But someone did answer Ning Zhongfei. Luo Fei looked in Yi Mo's direction and sighed, because he's the boss of Luo Yu. Luo Fei could see how much Yi Mo cared for Ning Qingxue. What about her little sister? Ning Qingxue was so extraordinary that she didn't know if her junior martial sister could win over her. What? He's the big boss of Luo Yu? Ning Zhongfei, Lan Yu and Li Mumei almost all screamed at the same time. This answer was too unexpected. But it was this answer that made them all comprehend why Fei Yu, who had no competitive power to speak of, had been chosen. They had such a powerful son-in-law, yet they still shamelessly went to ask other US companies to cooperate with them. Ning Zhongfei glanced at his wife. It was the first time that he was unhappy with her. If it weren't for her, there wouldn't have been so many problems. If she hadn't objected to Yi Mo helping Ning Qingxue recover her memories, they would have long since known that Yi Mo was the boss of Fei Yu, without having to go to the US, eventually causing so much trouble. Lan Yu looked down. She felt she had really done things poorly this time, too poorly. Not only did she not explain things when Ning Qingxue had misunderstood Yi Mo, she also made things worse by telling her to avoid him. But look at how magnanimous Yi Mo was. He still came here and didn't even talk to her in any bad way. Lan Yu felt extremely guilty. Her husband had long ago said that Qingxue had to make her own decisions. Of course Yi Mo didn't blame Lan Yu, he didn't have the time to anyway. Not to mention, Ning Qingxue was Lan Yu's daughter after all. He was going to check the jet's trajectory and search along its route. At this moment, Yi Mo appeared in Hong Kong, Western Sands Land. He had come to find Jiao Bianyi. For some things, he needed the help of the local snake. Jiao Bianyi didn't expect Yi Mo would ever come to his land, his private manor no less. Luckily he was here today. Otherwise, if his men were to take Yimo lightly, that would be it for him. Last time, when Shuaishi met Yimo at San Ya, Shuaishi proved his keen eyes and was praised greatly by Jiao Bianyi. Qianbei, I hadn't expected I'd get to be honored by your great arrival today, no wonder the peacock kept chirping. Jiao Bianyi showed respect on his face as best he could. Yimo knew that these people were afraid of him, but he didn't care. This was how the world worked. He nodded. Gang leader Jiao, I actually need your help today. I will wait at your place, while you please gather all of the friends in the mafia you know here, because there's something I need to ask. Jiao Bianyi's heart skipped. Nanqing and Metal River was in a state of decline, and his Western Sand had gradually become the mob overlord in Hong Kong. What he feared the most was that someone had offended Yimo and pissed him off. Although Jiao Bianyi's Western Sand was the biggest gang, it wasn't to the degree where he could order everyone around. Thus the letter he sent out was, Yi Qianbei is at Western Sand's Bamboo Night private manor, calling for all friends in the business, with something to ask. Those who don't come may imagine the consequences. If it was somewhere else, people might not know the words Yi Qianbei, but in Hong Kong, everyone knew. It was at the Bamboo Night manor that Yimo annihilated Da Tang. Furthermore, Zhuo Yu hadn't listened to Yi Qianbei's words, and 3 days later, someone found his body in Thailand. In Hong Kong, you can fight Western Sand, but you can't fight Yi Qianbei. It was also rumored that Earth Fiend had been annihilated by Yimo. Since he could destroy even a behemoth like Earth Fiend, who would still have the guts to offend Yi Qianbei? With this letter sent out, in less than 2 hours, all of the Hong Kong gang's big bosses had gathered. No one dared so much as make a loud noise in front of Yimo. They all bowed to Yimo and found a place to sit. Soon, the scene was full. There was nearly 100 people here, yet the place was dead silent. They were all waiting uneasily for Yimo to start talking, not knowing who this Qianbei was out to kill. Yimo nodded satisfactorily, seeing all these people appear in such a short time. Even Metal Mountain had come, but having a look at Metal River, he didn't seem to be doing well recently. I express my apologies for interrupting everyone today. The truth is, I need all of your help today. Yi Qianbei, if there's anything you need just tell me. I, Jiao Bianyi, will do all that I can. To me, it's an honor to be able to help Qianbei. Jiao Bianyi stood up and said. Yes, Yi Qianbei, although my Yi gang is small, I wouldn't dare lag behind in helping Qianbei. Another ferocious youth stood up, saluting with his fist. With these few people talking, the rest also started vowing similar things. Yimo knew that the reason everyone was acting like this wasn't because they respected him, but because they feared him. If he wanted them to give it their all while helping him, he would have to promise them something they wanted. Yimo waved his hand, and after the noise quietened down he said slowly, a few days ago, a plane from Hong Kong to San Francisco went missing. I believe everyone knows. So it was this. After Yimo had introduced the case, everyone breathed easy and went on to answer. Too many people were investigating this thing. Yimo continued, my wife Ning Qingxue was on this plane, so I need you guys to investigate for me who got on it. Best if you manage to find out their motives as well. Yimo knew that there were a lot of things which the government couldn't find out that these mobsters could. Hearing Yimo's words, they started chattering. No wonder Yi Qianbei called all of them out. His wife had been on the plane. After they quieted down, Yimo spoke further. Of course, I am not asking for your help for free. I will also be giving some rewards. Hearing about a possible reward, everyone at the scene fell into silence. Who was Yimo? His reward wouldn't be anything to scoff at. Would it be money or something else? Hearing about a possible reward, everyone at the scene fell into silence. Who was Yimo? His reward wouldn't be anything to scoff at. Would it be money or something else? Yimo scanned everyone at the scene and said plainly, although everyone here has learnt some martial arts already, I believe all of you also understand that there's no ending to martial arts. Yellow level is only the beginning, yet I see that out of everyone here, there are still only 3 people at that level. Most of you must know that one can reach yellow level only by cultivating ancient martial arts. These ancient martial arts, however, are not passed on easily. As Yimo spoke until there, the scene started rustling. Yimo was becoming more and more mysterious in everyone's heart. He could even see through everyone's level of power. This was too scary. They wondered who those people that had reached yellow level were. But, since Yimo didn't tell, no one dared ask either. Although those ancient martial arts were nothing but a legend, most people at the scene knew that those reaching yellow level could still be considered true martial artists. But it wasn't an easy thing to reach yellow level. Those who did pretty much all belonged to big sects. Yimo scanned everyone and took out a pill, placing it on the table. This pill is called a Chi-increasing pill. Regardless of whether or not you have learnt ancient martial arts, one pill is enough for you to reach yellow level. If you are already at the yellow level, it can allow you to ascend at least one stage and even help you reach black level. Rumble, the scene erupted. A pill that could let you reach yellow level instantaneously. This was too enticing, too absurd. As for some black level, that was ignored. People rarely knew that it existed and had no concept of it. But Metal Mountain did know, so he was even more shocked. Daoist had been black level. And even Nanqing hadn't dared mess with him. He understood how terrifying the notion of a black level warrior was. If you reached yellow level, then even without a gang, you could roam anywhere you liked. If Yimo wasn't the person the pill was in front of, people would have already started robbing. Nonetheless, some people couldn't control the desire in their heart any longer. Some big brother of a small gang charged out of his seat, grabbing at the bottle. He thought that no matter how strong Yimo was, he would surely manage to snatch it. He did it unexpectedly. Afterwards, he would charge out and run away even if it meant leaving Hong Kong immediately. Someone had the guts to rob Yi Qianbei's belongings. Those who knew how strong Yimo was were dazed. Was there such a person that didn't want to live? Yimo sneered. He didn't expect there to really be someone who wished to die. He waved his hand and the guy was smacked to the corner. Before he could react, a fireball flew out on top of it. The man was covered by the fireball in an instant yet didn't die immediately. Everyone looked at this scene in horror. If they weren't seeing this with their own eyes, they'd think this was a movie. The man kept howling in the fireball, but everyone could only see his face without being able to hear his cries. The scene was so quiet that even the drop of a needle could be heard. After a while, the fireball disappeared, and only a few flicks of ashes fell from it, with nothing else remaining. Yimo scanned everyone else and said coldly, "This was the first time, so I'll let it go like this. If there's a second time, I won't be so kind." He was exerting his dominance. These people were scattered and unorganized. Although a lot of people had shown up, those who really understood his power and obeyed him were not many. Everyone started sweating. At this moment, they realized this Yi Qianbei wasn't that easy to talk to at all. He had just turned a person into dust, and that was called his kind punishment. What would the hard punishment be like? Moreover, look at how absurdly strong he was. Can you really achieve this if you cultivate ancient martial arts to a very high extent? Moving on, Yimo said plainly, "To anyone who can provide me with the answer to my questions, and I'm happy with the answer, I will give a Chi-increasing pill. If 10 people show me results I like, I will give 10. No matter what level you're at, I can make you increase it." The scene burst into an uproar again. Everyone had already forgotten the man who had been burned by Yimo. They all just hoped for luck to be on their side. Some people were already raring to go back and send their gangs out investigating. "Qianbei, what if both people have the same result? How is the reward given then?" someone asked. Yimo looked at him and spoke slowly, "Whoever does it more carefully, and whoever proves more useful to me, that person will be given the reward." "All right then, today's meeting ends here. The time for the investigation will be 1 day. I'll be waiting here tomorrow at this time and will judge whose info is useful and whose isn't. If someone dares play any tricks, I don't mind letting you follow Earth Fiend to disappear from this world." Yimo's voice grew cold at the end. He needed to make these people fear him. There was no use in trying to reason with them. Power was the strongest reasoning he could use. And since he couldn't afford too much time, he was only able to give them 1 day. Yimo's words once again made them shiver. Right, Earth Fiend had been annihilated by Yi Qianbei. Everyone knew how cocky and powerful Earth Fiend had been. They had the right to offend anyone they wanted, yet precisely Earth Fiend, this kind of organization, was pulled up by its roots by Yi Qianbei. Those who had been thinking about playing some little tricks immediately gave up the thought. After leaving, Yi Mo went to the airport in order to check up on some things for himself. Yi Mo was visiting the half-mountain mansion again to see Mo Kang. Mo Kang was a good person, and when he first started up his company, Mo Kang had given him a lot of support, even throwing in a couple $100 million. Yi Mo was very grateful, so he used the spare time he had to come visit Mo Kang. The first time Yi Mo had come to treat him, there had been heavy security. But now, Yi Mo felt like it was very empty. He walked through the mansion, and not a single person was there to stop him. Thus, Yi Mo scanned further in using his spirit sense. 20 or so people looking like security guards were kneeling on the lawn with their heads down. Had Mo Kang encountered some problem? Those people had been protecting his mansion. Why was he doing this? Yi Mo went in and realized that they had had their meridians sealed, and it had been a few hours already. Mo Kang and Mo Ping were sitting obediently in the living room. The maids and servants were standing shakily in the backyard. No one dared to move. A man and woman were sitting in front of Mo Kang and Mo Ping. Yi Mo knew who that woman was. Her name was Xia Ziwei, and she had been here last time when he came to treat Mo Kang. Xia Ziwei was the sister of the girl Mo Kang liked, Xia Ru. He had told Mo Kang not to show that he was healthy in front of Xia Ziwei, so why was she here today? Yi Mo didn't know the other man but could tell that the guy was at yellow level tertiary stage. He had good looks and was very tall. Yet he was obviously tired out, a lustful person it would seem. Did these two do it? Yi Mo walked in, suddenly startling the people inside. They all looked up at Yi Mo. Dr. Yi, why are you here? Mo Kang and Mo Ping called out at the same time. It's you. Xia Ziwei also stood up and looked at Yi Mo in vigilance and anger. Yi Mo had shattered her bone with a kick last time, and she still remembered it clearly. Yi Mo scanned her coldly and walked to Mo Kang, asking, Brother Mo, what is this? Mo Kang looked fearfully at Xia Ziwei and the man standing next to her, uttering worriedly, Dr. Yi, this is a private matter. Go back for now, and after I'm done with this, I'll come visit you. Since you're here already, why don't you stay? Ziwei, this is the trash doctor that kicked you last time, the tall man said, scanning Yi Mo. Since you're here already, why don't you stay? Ziwei, this is the trash doctor that kicked you last time, the tall man said, scanning Yi Mo. It's him. He ran quite fast last time, so I didn't notice him. Zhongqiu, this is my private matter. You don't need to intervene, Ziwei said coldly. Yi Mo looked at the two. Weren't these two together? Why was Xia Ziwei so disrespectful to the man? As soon as she finished speaking, she straightaway jumped from her seat and kicked towards Yi Mo. This time she didn't hold back. Last time, because she'd underestimated Yi Mo, he had broken her leg. So this time, she figured she should be able to hurt him. Some mortal doctor had the guts to challenge her. No matter how strong he was, it would be child's play for her to kill him. Seeing this kick, Zhongqiu's face was colored in contempt. No matter how strong Yi Mo was, if this kick landed, he would be dead meat for sure. Maybe, if he was lucky, he would only be crippled. This woman sure was cruel, going for the kill so easily. Yi Mo didn't hold back, kicking just like her. A hideous scream was heard, and Xia Ziwei was kicked far away, landing on the grass outside. She slumped to the ground, and it was unknown whether she was dead or alive. Zhongju suddenly stood up. He understood Xia Ziwei's power quite well. It was worse than his, but only by a bit. He didn't expect her to be flung away just like that. He was definitely no match for this guy. Zhongju didn't dare to go up to Yi Mo or even to say anything anymore. But that didn't mean Yi Mo was going to let him go. He went up to him and threw out a kick as Zhongju's terrified expression could clearly be seen. Dr. Yi? Mo Kang looked at this scene in shock. He knew that Yi Mo had probably learnt ancient martial arts, but didn't expect him to be this strong. Xia Ziwei and Zhongju's power was strong. He understood this clearly. Brother Mo, just call me Yi Mo. What happened? Yi Mo waved his hand and said. Mo Kang sighed, let me tell you everything then. Brother Yi, after you'd cured me, I listened to you and never went out other than going to your company. I always stayed in this mansion. Yet this morning, Xia Ziwei and Zhongju suddenly came here and realized that I'd been cured. Zhongju beat up all of my security guards and was going to take me away but was stopped by Xia Ziwei. Then, they sat inside waiting for something. Hold on, let me save your bodyguards first. No matter who they are, even if they're the #1 hidden sect, I can still tell them to fuck off if I want. Saying this, Yi Mo went to save Mo Kang's bodyguards. However, 2 people had died due to being sealed for too long. Mo Ping's face showed his anger. Uncle, how can they kill people so easily like that? Mo Kang smiled bitterly. Our lives are worth nothing more than that of insects to these people. He remembered his life at the Xia family and sighed. Then, Mo Kang asked Yi Mo, Brother Yi, why would you suddenly come here? What about them now? I feel like this thing won't end too well. Yi Mo waved his hand. Don't worry about those 2. Since I don't mind beating them up, it means that I'm not scared of the power behind them. I said I will help you, so don't worry. I came to Hong Kong mainly to investigate that missing passenger jet. And so, Yi Mo told him what happened. Your wife was also on the plane? Mo Kang was shocked. He knew that the plane had gone missing for quite long already. No one was entertaining the hope that the people on it would still be alive. But since Yi Mo had saved him many times, he had the responsibility to help him investigate the matter. Pinger, immediately go investigate this case, including the people working aboard, Mo Kang ordered. Mo Ping nodded. Soon, he left with people from the mansion. Although Yi Mo didn't come to Mo Kang for help, one extra person helping meant one extra reason to hope. Let me ask these 2 what they're doing here first. Yi Mo walked out onto the grass and dragged them inside. Yi Mo patted Xia Ziwei awake. She looked up at Yi Mo in terror. Tell me why you came here. What is it you wanted to do? Mo Kang was the first man your sister met. She has hurt him for more than 20 years, and you still come to harm him in the mortal world. Where is your conscience? Yi Mo's voice was very cold. My sister harmed him. Bullshit. There was irony in Xia Ziwei's eyes and she wouldn't talk anymore. Yi Mo didn't dare use his usual means to interrogate, because as to these strong-willed people, they may make them become idiots straight away. Seeing Xia Ziwei was unwilling to talk, Yi Mo patted Zhongju awake. He couldn't use harsh means on Xia Ziwei, but he could on Zhongju. Tell me your motives. If you don't speak within 3 seconds, I'll be killing. Yi Mo's voice went cold. Although Zhongju had good talent for ancient martial arts, for someone who couldn't even control his lust, his will wouldn't be very strong. Keep dreaming. I'm from the Hong martial sect. Zhong Feng is my uncle. What do you dare do to me? Our sect will demolish your entire hometown. Before Zhongju could finish, Yi Mo stood on his kneecap. The frightening cracking of bones sounded, and Zhongju howled out in pain. Xia Ziwei looked on from the side in fear. This Dr. Shaw was cruel. There would be no cure for Zhongju's knee like that. You're heartless. Zhongju cried. That bone-carving pain made him want to die. Yi Mo commented bleakly, I'm cruel? Look at those 2 bodyguards that are already dead. Why don't you call yourself cruel? I haven't even killed you yet. How am I cruel? They're normal people. How can they compare to us? They're just some insects. Zhongju truly believed he was right. The ancient martial artists were obviously vastly superior to those mortal world insects. Yi Mo couldn't be bothered to speak anymore and just stood on his other kneecap. I was asking you something. Why are you changing the topic? Don't step, I'll speak. Zhongju really hadn't been changing the topic, but he didn't dare speak any more bullshit. This Dr. Yi was too cruel. Zhongju said, not too long ago, because Luo Yu's beauty pill was cashing in way too hard, many hidden sect people started sending members to Flowing Snake, wanting to control this business. Hearing about this, Yi Mo felt shocked. That's right. His business earned so much, how could the hidden sect people just let it be? Yi Mo knew that the hidden sects also needed money, large amounts of it actually, just like those people who had gone to the Wu Liang mountain auction. If they didn't have businesses in the mortal world, how could they possess that much money? Although the pills and magic artifacts also sold for a lot of money, that was a limited resource. His beauty pill was earning this much, There was no way the hidden sects wouldn't be greedy for it. Yimo almost sweated a bit. Luckily, he realized this fact today and could now set up defenses. Otherwise, after things would have happened already, it would be too late. Just like what had happened with Qingxue. Still, the hidden sect people dared prey on his business. They must not want to live anymore. He wasn't so easily harassed. But what has this got to do with Mo Kang? Seeing Yimo's eyes go cold, Zhongju shivered and continued, during our investigation, we found out that Luo Yu had received financial help from Mo Kang Corporation, so we came back to check on Mo Kang and realized that he hadn't died, hence, my uncle quickly sent me over to take Mo Kang away. If that's the case, then why are you still here? Yimo wouldn't have expected it to be his company that would expose Mo Kang in the end. Zhongju looked at Xia Ziwei and said, because of Ziwei. As soon as my uncle sent me here, her sister knew about it immediately and told her to come with me. Zhongju looked at Xia Ziwei and said, because of Ziwei. As soon as my uncle sent me here, her sister knew about it immediately and told her to come with me. Yimo looked at Xia Ziwei and said coldly, Xia Ziwei, I'll give you one last chance. If you still don't speak up, then don't blame me. His business was involved here, so Yimo wouldn't be so easy to talk to. There was some killing intent in his words already. Xia Ziwei looked coldly at Yimo and said, the reason why Zhong Feng had to marry my sister even though she was pregnant was because my sister has a special body. In ancient martial art terms, she has what is called a Li Yin body. What? Zhongju looked at Xia Ziwei in disbelief. The Li Yin body was an open secret among ancient martial arts sects. This body only ever appeared in legends, no one had truly seen a Li Yin body before. Xia Ziwei didn't even look at Zhongju and continued, ancient martial art cultivators who dual cultivate with a woman having a Li Yin body can reach at least the earth level, and they even have a chance of reaching great heaven state. Zhong Feng found out about my sister possessing the Li Yin body and tried his uttermost to marry my sister. However, there was a huge problem. The woman must wholeheartedly cooperate with the man or else it won't work. My sister had her heart set on Mo Kang already, so Zhong Feng married only my sister's body, yet not her heart. So that's how it was. Mo Kang's heart tightened. He suddenly hated himself for not even being capable of protecting the one woman he loved. What was the point of having this much money? He would rather have nothing if it meant he could live with Xia Ru forever. Xia Ziwei looked at Mo Kang in contempt, she looked down on him from the bottom of her heart. He couldn't even protect his own woman. The reason that Zhong Feng didn't dare kill Mo Kang was because he was scared my sister would close her heart completely. If she did, then he would stand no chance. However, after all these years Mo Kang still lived in the Xia family. Hence, he thought of a wretched way of sealing Mo Kang's meridians, turning him into something that would never wake up. If my sister still wants Mo Kang to live, she wouldn't be able to reject his will. Xia Ziwei wiped the sweat from her head and said, my sister knows Zhong Feng's character, and she knows his means. Turning people into a vegetable like this entails that even if you don't die of old age, you will still die due to constantly reflecting on your most painful memories. Therefore, my sister told me to build a temple for Mo Kang, putting a magic artifact inside to release the hatred in his heart, so that he may live a few extra years. So that was it. Mo Kang had tears all over his face and just kept muttering Xia Ru's name. His torture had been physical, but Xia Ru had been tortured both mentally and spiritually. And here he was, all this time blaming her for her betrayal. But 20 years have passed and Zhong Feng's patience is running thin. He thought Mo Kang had died, yet my sister still wouldn't love him. Just when he was about to lose control, his men found out about Mo Kang being fine over at Luo Yu. Even he couldn't believe that Mo Kang could have been cured. He knew that this was his chance. He used this opportunity to threaten my sister. 20 years ago, he didn't dare to threaten her, but now, no matter whether he does or doesn't threaten my sister, she wasn't cooperating anyway. Xia Ziwei's tone gradually calmed down. She continued, my sister was about to come see Mo Kang, but her actions were under Zhong Feng's control, and he didn't allow my sister to come. Yet this time, my sister had made up her mind to come. So Zhong Feng wanted Zhongju to bring Mo Kang back first. My sister knew what Zhong Feng wanted to do and told me to stop Zhongju from bringing him away. Then what is it your sister wants? Yimo asked. Xia Ziwei shook her head. I don't know, my sister just told me to wait here. She said she would come for sure. I'd been waiting for a few hours already, and you know what happened afterwards. My sister is afraid that if Mo Kang is taken away, there's no way he will ever be able to return. Yimo stared at Xia Ziwei and said, but I still feel like you're lying. Why can I see in your eyes that you want Mo Kang to die as early as possible? Last time I was here, your eyes were also the same. Xia Ziwei looked hatefully at Mo Kang and said, that's right, I want him to die. If it wasn't for him, why would my sister be in this situation? This kind of garbage, how can it live for this long? Mo Kang was holding his head, muttering, yes, I'm a piece of garbage, complete garbage. Yimo ignored Xia Ziwei and kicked Zhongju again. So you want to scheme for the beauty pill at Flowing Snake, right? Other than Zhong Feng, who else is thinking the same way? You don't need to ask him, I will tell you, a plain yet heavy voice sounded. Yimo had also already noticed that person's arrival before that. This person was very fast. There was a 200-meter distance between them, yet he appeared in a mere moment. This guy was a very bulky-looking man, had some beard, a loud voice loud, and even his actions had a certain temperament to them. 3 more people arrived a bit later than him. Other than a middle-aged woman, there were 2 women at the black level. Xia Ru. Mo Kang looked on dumbly at that average-looking middle-aged woman. He didn't expect her to come to look more emaciated and older than people of the same age after not seeing her for 20 years. That woman also stared at Mo Kang dumbly. Yimo could feel her body was shaking, yet she couldn't move at all. That bulky man looked softly at Xia Ru and said, Rua, I've already agreed for you to come see him once. Say what you need to say, and remember our promise. Xia Ru didn't seem to have even heard this man's words as she moved slowly towards Mo Kang. Mo Kang couldn't hold it in anymore and charged over to Xia Ru, hugging her, while he couldn't say a word. The bulky guy stared at Mo Kang with killing intent flashing across his eyes. A mortal dared hug his wife in front of him, only Yimo managed to see him raise his hand, so he stepped forward and caught a very thin needle. He looked coldly at the guy and said, Zhong Feng, right? How dare you use projectiles in front of me? Before the man could talk, Xia Ru reacted and pointed at the man. Zhong Feng, what was it you promised when you came along? Why did you attack Mo Kang? You lied. Zhong Feng's face went green and, ignoring Yimo, he said in a cold voice, you have the guts to cheat on me, hugging another man in front of everyone, yet you still dare criticize me? You can forget any past deals we had. Although Xia Ru was just a tool to him, she was still his wife. He couldn't tolerate what she was doing. Cheating on you? Bullshit. Zhong Feng, you finally show your true face. Let me tell you, I never thought about going back alive today. I've already long since married Mo Kang, look at this. You've imprisoned me for 20 years. Now, I will die with Mo Kang, and what can you do to keep imprisoning me? Xia Ru took out a red booklet and waved it in front of Zhong Feng. Zhong Feng saw the marriage certificate and almost spat out blood. Although it was a marriage certificate of the mortal world and trash to him, he couldn't tolerate Xia Ru had kept it for all these years. Xia Ru. Mo Kang called. Xia Ru smiled sadly. Mo Kang, although I haven't lived with you, we can still be together after we die. I brought this on you all these years. I promised I was going to come out and find you, but I wasn't able to. Mo Kang finally came to his senses and shakily pulled out a sealed marriage certificate from his pocket. Xia Ru, I have mine here too. We can be together forever now. Don't worry, Brother Yi said he will help me. Brother Yi? Xia Ru repeated. Mo Kang nodded and pointed at Yimo. Yes, this is Brother Yi. He's the one who cured me of the disease before. Ahaha. Zhong Feng was so angry he laughed. Even if Xia Ru immediately agreed to dual cultivate with him now, he wouldn't let a woman who had betrayed him live. You are that Brother Yi? You asked me how I dare shoot projectiles in front of you. You dare investigate about our hidden sects. Zhong Feng's laughter stopped. There was not a bit of a smile on his face. His face was even colder than his voice as an intense killing intent surged up. He needed to beat this person in front of him to a pulp right now. Yimo sneered, I also broke Zhongju's knee. And of course, if my investigations show that your shabby sect dared scheme for my business, then I won't mind pulling your sect up by its roots. Who do you think you are? The Heavenly Emperor? Zhong Feng sneered. He was already Earth-level middle stage now, a master in the hidden sects. This young guy had the guts to bluff in front of him. I am not the Heavenly Emperor, I am Yi Mo. Yi Mo's voice was very calm as he looked at Zhong Feng as though he were a dead man already. Yi Mo, Shlomo, whatever. Do I look like I see a Yi Mo? You say you're Yi Mo? Zhong Feng suddenly stopped his rage and looked at Yi Mo in shock. Yi Mo, Shlomo, whatever. Do I look like I see a Yi Mo? You say you're Yi Mo? Zhong Feng suddenly stopped his rage and looked at Yi Mo in shock. Only at this moment did he realize that this man had caught his flying needle. He knew all too well how hard it was to catch it barehanded, moreover when he made a surprise attack. Due to his rage, he had neglected that fact. Now that Yi Mo said what his name was, Zhong Feng was stupefied. Plus with the stories of Yi Mo circulating in the hidden sects, he suddenly felt scared. If this Yi Mo was the Yi Mo that had annihilated a couple of sects, then this would be the end of him, no, of his entire Hong martial sect. Yi Mo was able to make He Liu's sect and Dian Kang close up. It would be all too easy for him to eradicate the far inferior Hong martial sect. Zhong Feng suddenly realized that the more hidden sects went to investigate Luo Yu, the less of them wanted it. This was a very eerie thing. Not to mention, considering what they had found out already, combined with Yi Mo's words just then, he would be a pig if he still didn't comprehend that Yi Mo was related to Luo Yu. Zhong Feng started feeling cold sweat. He hated himself for sending a moron to investigate Luo Yu who couldn't even find out that Yi Mo was behind Luo Yu. The people he sent out were all arrogant. Why would they care who was behind some mortal world pharmaceutical company? They just cared about the recipe. If it wasn't out of concern that other hidden sects would criticize him for breaking the rules, perhaps his men would have straight up interrogated them for the recipe. Compared to offending Yi Mo, Xia Ru wasn't even a problem. Might you be the Yi Mo Qianbei that hails from the Beijing Yi family? Zhong Feng suddenly became very respectful. He was sure that this Yi Mo had to be the Yi Mo of that Yi family. Whether it was true that he had slaughtered the elites of the two big sects or not, what mattered was that he had been able to catch his needle with his bare hands. Yi Mo sneered, "Are you implying that if I'm not that Yi Mo, then you can kill all you want?" Zhong Feng's bulky face immediately started to sweat. He knew that one misstep and his entire sect would be annihilated. Although he was cocky, he wasn't cocky to the point as to think of himself as an even match with Wu Dao. On top of that, Dian Kang and He Liu had been massacred by Yi Mo, yet they didn't dare make a noise. At the same time, the people from these sects who could kill him were all too many. Now that Yi Mo's voice had turned icy, how could he not notice that Yi Mo had killing intent? He quickly bowed and said, "Yi Qianbei, I apologize for my intrusion, I'm willing to accept punishment. It's not only my sect that went to investigate Luo Yu, tens of other sects went as well, and there are still people there. I'm willing to provide Qianbei with intelligence as to which sects are investigating your business and will gladly compensate for Qianbei's losses." Yi Mo flicked the needle in his hand. Zhong Feng didn't even have time to react before he felt the pain in his chest. He quickly knew that the needle had gone inside his body. "Brother Mo, this person who stole your wife is yours to deal with now." Yi Mo looked at Mo Kang and Xia Ru who were dumbfounded. Mo Kang knew Yi Mo was powerful. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to subjugate Zhong Ju and Xia Ziwei, but he didn't expect Yi Mo to be powerful to this extent. Zhong Feng was a top 3 master in Hong martial sect, but he couldn't so much as defend himself against Yi Mo. Xia Ru was also at a loss. She didn't expect Mo Kang to be capable of meeting such a powerful friend. She made Zhong Feng bring her here, planning on not living another day, yet reality far exceeded her expectations. Not only would they both be able to continue living, they could do whatever they wanted to Zhong Feng. This brother Yi was too absurd. Xia Ru had been imprisoned, so she didn't know about Yi Mo's rampage in the hidden sects. But Zhong Ju and Xia Ziwei were completely shocked. Who was Yi Mo? He was the currently most discussed person in the hidden sects. All hidden sect members training in the mortal world must avoid Yi Mo. had become as if a written rule of the hidden sects. This legendary being didn't originate from the hidden sects. He was just an abandoned son not that long ago, yet today, they had seen and fought with this legendary person. No, to be exact, they had just been kicked away. Beams flashed across Xia Ziwei's eyes. Firstly, she felt surprised that the famous Yi Mo was so young, and secondly, she felt that this was how life should be. Just an I am Yi Mo could make a top dog like Zhong Feng be so scared. Suddenly, Xia Ziwei no longer felt any hatred for Yi Mo. She wouldn't have the balls to demand revenge from Yi Mo even if she had 100 of them. His madness was much talked about in the hidden sects. It was rumored that he's already a great heaven master, so no one dared to irritate him. Xia Ziwei looked at Mo Kang thinking this guy sure was lucky. He was acquainted to Yi Mo, who not only cured his illness but also helped him catch Zhong Feng. Zhong Feng, I wanted to kill you many years ago, but I couldn't beat you. You took my wife and obstructed me for decades. I know that I could never be a match for you in my entire life and that you must be unwilling to die like this, but I have a good brother. I will kill you personally today to get revenge for taking my wife. Veins were popping out of Mo Kang's forehead. Zhong Feng's wore a lifeless expression. He couldn't use a single bit of inner qi. He didn't expect he'd have to live the hero life and die here, by the hands of someone who had never learnt ancient martial arts. He remained unwilling, yet couldn't do anything. Yi Qianbei, we wish to work under you. The two black-level guys guarding Xia Ru understood that things were over. If they didn't pick the right timing, perhaps after Zhong Feng's death, they would be next. Yi Mo sneered, oh? If you want to live, then pay the price. The younger man nodded, I'm willing to kill Zhong Feng as a sign of my loyalty. The other man quickly agreed as well. Yi Mo sneered but didn't disagree. The two hurried before Mo Kang and pulled out a sword each. Zhong Feng not only died due to Mo Kang, but even due to his own two men. After seeing them kill Zhong Feng, Yi Mo still didn't say anything, so they rushed in front of Zhong Ju and also killed him. Then, they knelt before Yi Mo, waiting for his judgment. Such disloyal men. Yi Mo sneered, he wouldn't need these people's help. They could betray Zhong Feng, then they could betray him. But he could leave them to do things for him as long as they were under his control. Mo Kang didn't cultivate ancient martial arts and wasn't that fast. By the time he reacted, those two had already killed Zhong Feng and Zhong Qiu. Xia Ru pulled back Mo Kang, who was about to go rampant, and shook her head. Although he imprisoned me, he didn't mistreat me too much. Don't harass his body. Okay. Mo Kang listened to Xia Ru's every word. Xia Ru uttered weakly, Brother Kang, I thought I could die with you this time but. It was as though she felt bad for not dying. Mo Kang quickly comforted, Xia Ru, why are you feeling bad? Brother Yi has given me this chance, I will make things up to you. Just live with me in this mansion from now on. Xia Ru shook her head, no, she hesitated for a long time but eventually couldn't speak up. Mo Kang said, don't think about it too much. We can live here, and no one will dare to do anything thanks to Brother Yi. Yi Mo didn't look at the two kneeling before him. He was also wondering, since the two have met and all the trouble has passed, why is she still like that? Did she not like the idea of living with Mo Kang? Xia Ziwei sneered, Mo Kang, how can you still call yourself a man? My sister is worried that you won't like her after she's been living with Zhong Feng for decades. That's why she said that. Idiot. Yi Mo saw that Xia Ru's face immediately went pale, proving Xia Ziwei was right. He didn't expect Xia Ru to take it that seriously. Yi Mo came from Luoyu continent, where the women took fidelity seriously. After arriving here, he'd realized that a lot of girls didn't care. Hence, he didn't expect Xia Ru to care. Just by this trait alone, Yi Mo had a different opinion of Xia Ru. Mo Kang laughed, as long as I can live with Xia Ru, the heavens have been good to me. To me, Xia Ru's safety is the most important. Mo Kang. Xia Ru grabbed him excitedly. The reason why she liked Mo Kang to begin with was due to his forgiving and magnanimous heart for her. Now, it seemed she had been right, Mo Kang was still like that. Mo Kang. Xia Ru grabbed him excitedly. The reason why she liked Mo Kang to begin with was due to his forgiving and magnanimous heart for her. Now, it seemed she had been right. Mo Kang was still like that. More than 20 years and still he didn't marry another woman, carrying that wedding certificate with him all this time. And this was when he had misunderstood her. There might have been too much hardship between the two of them, she felt it had all been worth it. Thank you, Yi Qianbei, for saving my life. Xia Ru let go of Mo Kang and thanked Yi Mo. She couldn't call him brother like Mo Kang. She was from the hidden sects, where they really cared about generation titles. But Yi Mo didn't mind. He waved his hand and said, Sister Xia, I'm brothers with Brother Mo, don't call me Qianbei. Yes, and Qianbei, Ziwei is my sister, she has a bad temper, but please forgive her on Mo Kang's account. Although she agreed, Xia Ru still didn't dare call Yi Mo brother. After all, this person was a great heaven-level master. Yi Mo took out a few normal treatment pills and handed them to Mo Kang, telling him to use it on Xia Ziwei. He wouldn't give something as strong as a lotus life pill to Xia Ziwei. Seeing Xia Ru and Mo Kang carry Xia Ziwei to the side, Yi Mo then looked at the two black-level warriors of Hong martial sect. I have 2 orders, if you guys can fulfill them, I don't mind letting you live. Qianbei, we will do whatever you want, they said respectfully. What they were afraid of was that Yi Mo wouldn't give them a chance. As long as they had a chance to live, they would be willing to eat shit. Come with me first. There were some things that Yi Mo didn't want too many people to know. Mo Kang wouldn't ask about it either. Yi Mo brought the two into the room and then said, introduce yourselves first. Show me that you have value. I won't keep people without worth. The younger man quickly nodded and said, my name is Gong Yizheng. I joined the Hong martial sect 11 years ago and know everything about it. I am willing to be Qianbei's spy there. Yi Mo sneered, do you think I need a spy to annihilate the Hong martial sect? Your value isn't great. The man heard this and immediately began sweating. The other balder man heard this and said, I'm Tang Yu. I've been in the Hong martial sect for 19 years, and not only do I know the sect very well, but I also know about many other sects and their members. This time, people dared scheme for Qianbei's Luo Yu company, so I'd like to investigate the matter and present a detailed report to Qianbei. Wanbei is also willing to investigate, Gong Yizheng quickly said. Yi Mo sneered, I don't need you to investigate. I can still let you go, but I have a way to control your soul and will need you two to cooperate with it. When I use it, don't resist, or you will die. After I take a part of your soul, you won't be able to betray me in your life. If you do, I merely have to shatter your soul card and no matter how far away you may be, you will still die. Hearing Yi Mo's words, they were both shocked. They didn't expect Yi Mo to let them off easily, but they didn't expect this to happen. Can a person's soul really be controlled? Or even have a part taken away? They had been cultivating ancient martial arts for this long yet had never heard of such thing. This was too absurd. Seeing the two freeze on the spot, Yi Mo said in derision, since you don't agree then never mind. I don't want to waste energy to take your soul anyway. It did indeed use a lot of his spirit power to take the soul, and the success rate was quite low. Furthermore, you need the victim to fully cooperate with you, but even then, there is only a 50-50 success rate. If it fails, then the victim will die. Of course, Yi Mo didn't care about their lives. Qianbei, I am willing, Gong Yizheng was the first to react and said. Tang Yu saw this and also quickly responded, Qianbei, I'm also willing. Okay, in that case, relax and don't think about anything, Yi Mo instructed as he took out 2 small jade cards. He was preparing to seal their souls in these jade cards. If he had still been at the Kai gathering primary stage, the success rate would have been even lower. When Yi Mo extracted their soul, the two felt a sense of weakness. After seeing their soul taken away with their own eyes, they noticed a black line on the jade cards. Then, Yi Mo put the jade cards away into some unknown place. Originally, they thought Yi Mo was just trying to scare them, but now, they didn't dare doubt him at all. They both had a deep feeling that if only Yi Mo shattered the jade card, they would die immediately. Yi Mo didn't expect the first time to succeed. Usually, cultivators used this against mortals, and it was very hard to succeed on cultivators unless the difference in their cultivation was really high. Qianbei, please give your orders. The two were both anxious and didn't dare to think about anything else. This was too metaphysical for them to understand anyway. Yimo nodded and said, "Tell me everything you know about the hidden sects and write it out. Then, head back to your sect leader and tell him that I ordered you to have him send a letter in my name to all the hidden sects. Those who dared scheme for my Luo you may start preparing for their annihilation. If they can take out some things that I'm happy with, then I can let it go. But if I'm not satisfied with what they show me, or if they pretend to have never gotten word of it, then don't blame me for being ruthless." The two heard this and felt lucky that they got to follow Yimo early on. Otherwise, they would have been dead meat. They wondered how badly those who had schemed for Luo Yu at first, yet were now being taxed by Yimo, were going to feel and regret. Besides, there was nothing bad about serving Yi Qianbei. Look at how dominating he was. Just one word and those hidden sects would be like obedient grandsons, gifting him stuff to make amends. Yimo then said, "As long as you two handle things for me well, I won't be stingy with rewards. It isn't impossible for you two to even reach the earth level. I will go to Hong Martial's sect in some time, so tell your sect leader not to play any games. My tolerance is limited." He whacked them with the stick first and gave them a sweet date afterwards. Although Yimo knew the two wouldn't dare to betray him, if he wanted them to do things of their own initiative, he needed to reward them. "Yes, Qianbei," the two said as they started thinking. In all of the hidden sects, the people at Earth level were not many. If they hadn't met Yimo, they would have remained black level for the rest of their lives, but now, this was their chance. Even if there wasn't any soul control, they would still try to please Yimo. When Yimo brought the two out, Mo Kang and Xia Ru were already waiting for them. "You two go first." Yimo waved for Gong Yijing and Tang Yu to leave. Mo Kang looked at the two strangely and asked, "Brother Yi, are you really letting these two go?" Xia Ru pulled Mo Kang. She meant that this was Master Yimo's business, so he shouldn't intervene. Yimo didn't mind at all and nodded, "Yeah, they grabbed this chance well, so I told them to relay a message to the Hong Martial sect." He then looked around and said, "Since there's no problem here, I'll be going to investigate that jet now." Mo Kang said, "Mo Ping is already investigating, I'll come with you to have a look later as well. Qianbei, I'm not planning on going back, but if there's anything you need, just tell me." Xia Ru can still help. Xia Ru thought that even though she wasn't strong, she had still been living in the hidden sects and so she knew the hidden sects better than Yimo. She had heard Ziwei say that Yimo didn't come from the hidden sects after all. Yimo waved his hand and said, "You two just have a good reunion. I can investigate the plane myself. If Mo Ping finds something, just tell him to go meet me tomorrow afternoon at the Bamboo Night Private Manor. That's where I'll be." Xia Ziwei hesitated for a while before saying, "Yi Qianbei, 3 years ago when my sister told me to bring Mo Kang here, I encountered something, and perhaps it might be of use to you." "What is it?" Yimo looked at Xia Ziwei. She was a meticulous person in his opinion, so what she wanted to say would surely matter to him. "What is it?" Yimo looked at Xia Ziwei. She was a meticulous person in his opinion, so what she wanted to say would surely matter to him. Xia Ziwei organized her thoughts and recounted, 3 years ago, I was sending Mo Kang back, and because it was far away, Mo Kang called a helicopter over. When we neared the fishing island next to Hong Kong, I saw a civilian jet being a bit shaky as it almost fell into the ocean. But soon it seemed under control again, hence I didn't mind it much. But 2 days later, I saw on the Hong Kong news that a plane flying from Australia to Korea had gone missing. At the time, I guessed it was probably that plane I had seen, but I didn't really care about it then. Now when I heard Mo Kang say that a plane from Hong Kong to San Francisco had also gone missing, it made me wonder, could it be because of the same people? Xia Ziwei was also very curious. Yimo's wife had actually been on the missing plane. Also, Yimo had married a mortal woman. She wondered what this girl would be like. She could even make someone like Yimo, famous among all the hidden sects, fall in love with her. Hearing Xia Ziwei's words, Yimo frowned. These two events might actually be linked. "Do you remember anything else from that time?" Yimo asked. Xia Ziwei shook her head, "Not really." Yimo knew that for someone from the hidden sects, even if World War III were to break out, they wouldn't care about it, much less about some plane going missing. Yimo spoke to Mo Kang, "Brother Mo, I'm going to investigate it. If Mo Ping has some news for me then tell me, if not, never mind. Watching as Yi Mo left, Xia Ru sighed. If Mo Kang hadn't known a magical person like Yi Mo, they would have been over today. She knew all too well what Zhong Feng would have done. That Yi Mo is really that strong? Xia Ru subconsciously muttered. Xia Ziwei replied, he isn't merely strong, I was just casually kicked twice, but the rumors say that he can kill Earth levels like chickens. I also heard about the He Liu sect which tried to rob him of his blood coral. That not only did Yi Mo kill everyone who participated, those who sought revenge on the Beijing Yi family also all died. Out of the fear that Yi Mo would try to get revenge on them, they even sealed their sect. Mo Kang nodded and continued, at that time, Brother Yi came to this place and cured me of my disease. I already knew back then that Brother Yi was a person of significance. And now, he has indeed become a dragon. Just seeing Zhong Feng, this bastard, acting like a coward in front of him made me feel good. For the first time, Xia Ziwei agreed to Mo Kang's words. She said, his Luo Yu is very incredible too. I heard of the effects of the beauty pill. You can tell by the pill he gave out today that he's a pill master. However, the beauty pill is too short on supply. I wanted to buy a few bottles last time but wasn't able to. Mo Kang waved his hand, of course Brother Yi is amazing. Before his Luo Yu had even started up, I invested 200 million. All I really wanted to do was to repay him for saving my life. I gave him a small creek, yet he gave me back an ocean. Now, Mo Family Corporation is a partner of Luo Yu. If other people knew of this, they would be willing to invest even 2 billion. For the first time, Xia Ziwei didn't look at Mo Kang contemptuously. She felt that Mo Kang had a pretty keen eye for judging people. Thinking that he was a partner of Luo Yu now, Xia Ziwei for the first time spoke to him nicely as she asked, then, could you get some beauty pills? Mo Kang looked at Xia Ziwei in dissatisfaction. I'm the CEO of Mo Family Corporation. Our corporation partners with Luo Yu. So, do you think I can get my hands on some beauty pills or not? I can get a few hundred bottles, much less a few. Really? Xia Ziwei had a surprised and joyful look and quickly called out, brother-in-law, you must help me get some. She didn't even realize the change in title. Hearing her sister call Mo Kang brother-in-law, Xia Ru looked at Mo Kang softly. Although they had experienced so many years of hardship, she had chosen the right person. He was a man worth loving. Yi Mo had been in Hong Kong a few times but wasn't really familiar with the place. Each time he came here he had had a clear purpose. Yi Mo remembered Uncle Pei's rice noodle shop, which had cost him his life because of the Da Tang people. Although Yi Mo had annihilated Da Tang, Uncle Pei could never live again. So this time, Yi Mo wanted to check out his shop and reminisce about the man. At the same time, he wanted to see if he could find some clues in the most chaotic place of Hong Kong. If not, he would just go to the airline company. Miao Pu was indeed the most chaotic place in all of Hong Kong. As soon as Yi Mo got there was a youth with his body full of blood charging out with 2 men with hacking swords chasing behind him. It was obvious they wanted the youth's life. Yi Mo shook his head. By the time the police would be here, the youth would already be dead. Of course, Yi Mo wouldn't care about such a thing. He just walked towards the streets of Miao Pu but showed no intention of moving aside. Many onlookers looked at Yi Mo as though he was an idiot. In Miao Pu, fights happened every 3 to 5 days. Normal people would all dodge away. It wouldn't affect you normally, but if you were an obstacle to their fight, then no matter what, there was always a chance they would get mad at you. Yi Qianbei, save me. This youth suddenly stopped in front of Yi Mo and bowed down asking for Yi Mo to save him. Yi Mo looked at this youth who had been hacked quite a few times and asked strangely, who are you? I don't seem to know you. The youth breathed and quickly said, I'm from the Ocean Gang, because I was investigating the missing plane. The youth couldn't finish because the two had already caught up. They came in front of Yi Mo and didn't say anything. They just raised their hacking swords, chopping towards the youth, while another person pulled out a triangular spear and stabbed towards the youth's back. They were going to kill him disregarding Yi Mo's presence. Yi Mo kicked out, and the 2 men were kicked to the ground. They both spewed blood and couldn't move again. The reason he had been so merciless was because this youth had been investigating things for him. The youth who was bathed in blood looked at what happened in shock. "What's going on?" Yimo asked coldly, bringing him back to attention. The youth gasped and quickly explained, "Ichenbei, not too long ago, my gang leader asked me to investigate the missing plane incident and the passengers on it. All of our gang members moved out. I happened to hear these two talk about a missing passenger on the plane in a park, and after noticing them, I followed the two to a private mansion. I was caught then, and they started hunting me." Yimo stopped the youth from talking, hoisted the two men from the ground and said, "Call a taxi and take me to that old mansion." "Yes." The youth immediately stopped a taxi. Although the young man was covered in blood, the taxi still stopped and seemed to know that if he didn't, the consequences would be very serious. Yimo flung the two inside and ordered the youth, "Continue." The youth told the taxi driver the address and continued, "As soon as I got there, I heard a couple of Japanese talking. Just as I was about to show my head, I was caught. They started to hunt me, but luckily I was trained in athletics. Otherwise, I would have been caught up by these two bastards. My gang leader had showed me Yichenbei's picture, so that's why I recognized you. Thank you for saving my life." Yimo nodded and understood. Using the gangs was much more efficient than the government. How many people were involved in gangs? Even those who had a proper job were secretly in triads. With an order like that, it was like ordering the entirety of Hong Kong. This was different to some government search notice. Even if some civilians did know a couple of clues, they might not dare say it, but those in triads didn't really care. This wounded youth had been lucky and happened to hear the right news. It wasn't that far away and soon, they had arrived. Yimo took out a recovery pill for the youth and went on to hold the two men in his hands as he walked to the old mansion. As soon as Yimo entered the mansion, he knew it was empty. As soon as Yimo entered the mansion, he knew it was empty. "When you came here before, were there a lot of people?" Yimo dumped the two men to the side and asked. The youth replied, "I saw 4 men at the time, including these two." "4? So there were at least 2 who ran away." Yimo kicked the two awake and was ready to interrogate. The two said something, but it was in Japanese. Yimo couldn't understand it. Seeing Yimo frown, the youth immediately said, "Ichenbei, I'll find someone who can understand them so that you can ask questions." Yimo nodded, but still said no need, "Just get someone to drive over and bring the two to West Sand. Then you may find someone who can understand them. I'll follow soon." "Yes. Rest assured Yichenbei, I, Wang Xiaoxi, promise to finish the job," the youth said in excitement. Hearing that it was a personal order by Yichenbei, the Ocean Gang's car came very fast. Wang Xiaoxi and another youth carried the 2 men into the car and went to the Bamboo Night private manor. After the 2 left, Yimo went inside the mansion himself. This old-styled mansion wasn't common in modern-day Hong Kong anymore. It had a few rooms and was very tidy. Yimo walked around and saw nothing suspicious. After searching a few rooms though, he found a small black sun symbol in a very hidden place. Other than that, he found nothing. Yimo scanned his spirit sense into the ground and quickly found an underground bunker. There seemed to be a lot of things in there that hadn't been taken away. Just as Yimo wanted to go in, his spirit sense revealed some timed bombs at the corners of the bunker. There were just a few seconds left before explosion. Although this ordinary kind of bomb couldn't take Yimo's life, it wasn't a simple matter being blasted by bombs all around him. He might get hurt. The moment he saw the bomb, Yimo quickly charged out of the old mansion. Rumble. As soon as Yimo came out, the old house went up in flames. Yimo's face looked bad. He suddenly realized he had made a mistake. He had underestimated this entire thing. What Wang Xiaoxi had discovered wasn't some minor hideout, yet they just didn't care. These people were resolute enough to immediately retreat and blow up the mansion. What did this mean? This meant that these people knew he had rescued Wang Xiaoxi and was coming back. As soon as Yimo understood this much, he knew things were bad. Wang Xiaoxi was in danger. The 2 Japanese guys he was bringing along were probably in fact 2 timed bombs as well. Yimo quickly turned invisible, speeding on his flying sword towards Western Sand. Not too far away, Yimo noticed Wang Xiaoxi's car and felt a little relived. Just when he was about to stop Wang Xiaoxi's car, he sensed some danger. Immediately scanning his spirit sense out, he found that 100 meters away, there was a car following closely behind them. More importantly, the person sitting in the front had an RPG aimed at Wang Xiaoxi's car. These people were crazy. They actually dared use rocket launchers in civilian places. Shoot it quick. The HQ is gone already. There were 3 men in the car. The one talking was the middle-aged man sitting in the back, also speaking in Japanese. Yes. This man just spoke one word before sinking down. At this moment, the two realized that there was one extra person in the car. No one had seen when he'd gotten in. Who are you? When did you get in? The middle-aged man stared at Yimo in shock. Yimo rejoiced. Someone who understood Chinese. The driver had fast reactions, pulling out a gun instantaneously, but before he could fire, he was knocked out by Yimo and dumped onto the back seat. The middle-aged man was also knocked out. Soon, the car changed directions and stopped at a construction site. Yimo stopped the car and dragged the 3 men out. At this moment, he realized that the middle-aged man had a black sun tattoo on his neck. 2 out of the 3 understood Chinese. Under Yimo's interrogation, they revealed everything. The 3 were all Japanese and had been sent from a very large organization in Japan, the Black Sun Empire. Their goal was to find out the whereabouts of all great scientists. Yimo finally knew why the plane had gone missing. There was a professor called E.A. Stein on the plane, which was why the Black Sun Empire hijacked the plane. Ning Qingxue just happened to be on it. Moreover, Yimo also found out that the plane that went missing 3 years ago was also due to this organization. As for why this organization abducted so many scientists, Yimo could guess that as well. No wonder they guarded their secret so heavily. If this spread out, the entire world would be their enemy. However, Yimo also found out that a very beautiful girl had jumped off the plane halfway. Yimo knew that girl would probably be Ning Qingxue. His heart was burning with worry. He didn't know if Ning Qingxue had a parachute on at the time because normally, passenger jets didn't have parachutes. However, the one Yimo captured obviously didn't know if the plane had one either. Seeing that he couldn't get anything more out of them, Yimo turned them all to dust. As for abducting the scientists, Yimo wouldn't care. Even if they took all the scientists in the world hostage, it had nothing to do with him. But how dare they abduct Ning Qingxue? Yimo had listed the Black Sun Empire in his must-destroy list. Yimo just hoped that Ning Qingxue had had a parachute. But even if she did, the passenger jet had been flying very high, so her chances of survival weren't huge, but this was better than nothing. Yimo was no longer in the mood to investigate. He had to find Ning Qingxue immediately. Yimo got to Western Sand as fast as he could and found Wang Xiaoxi standing at the door in distress. The 2 men were already dead. They had probably committed suicide by now. But now, their death wasn't important anymore to Yimo Yiqianbei. Wang Xiaoxi was full of guilt. Yimo waved his hand. You did very well. You can come with your gang leader when the meeting starts. Wang Xiaoxi was shocked by this huge fortunate event, yet Yimo had already walked in. Gang leader. Wang Xiaoxi looked at the man behind him in excitement. When Yimo came over, he had his head even lower. They had screwed things up. Only when Wang Xiaoxi called him gang leader did he came back to his senses, grabbing Wang Xiaoxi's hands in excitement as he said, Xiaoxi, it's all thanks to you this time. Don't worry, this time Yiqianbei will reward us. I will definitely treat you well. You did great. When Yimo walked into the main hall, he noticed that Zhao Bianyi was here. Zhao Bianyi had kept constant notice of this place, so as soon as Yimo had appeared, he had gotten the news. Yiqianbei, why did you come early? Yimo told Zhao Bianyi last time not to call him Qianbei yet now, he was in no mood to repeat it. He just said, Gang leader Zhao, immediately call all of those gang members here. Collect as much info as you can, because I will be leaving Hong Kong tonight. Yes, Yiqianbei, I'll immediately notify them. Zhao Bianyi didn't dare ask what had happened. This time, Yimo had to wait even less long. Perhaps due to Yimo's promise of a reward, or due to his dominating presence in the morning, It took less than an hour for all the people to get there. Yimo scanned everyone present and said plainly, "Thanks to the help of the Ocean Gang, I found some useful information. Therefore, I'll be leaving this place today. If some people have already found something useful, please speak up immediately. If not, then I will be counting on you guys the next time I need help." Yimo scanned everyone present and said plainly, "Thanks to the help of the Ocean Gang, I found some useful information. Therefore, I'll be leaving this place today. If some people have already found something useful, please speak up immediately. If not, then I will be counting on you guys the next time I need help." As soon as Yimo finished speaking, almost everyone looked at the big brother of the Ocean Gang full of envy. The Ocean Gang was strictly put not a mob, they were fishermen who happened to also do some illegal trades. Yimo didn't care about what everyone was thinking. He took out a jade bottle and said, "This is a Kai increasing pill. Whoever is the Ocean Gang's leader, come up and take it. You can eat it right here. However, Wang Xiaoxi helped me out a lot this time, so I hope you will treat him well." "Yes, Yi Qianbei. I, Lu Sai, will remember Qianbei's words." While having everyone's jealous eyes directed at him, Lu Sai walked up to Yimo in excitement. He bowed first and then shakily took the bottle. As soon as he ate this pill, he would reach yellow level. Lu Sai took the bottle to one corner of the hall, decisively consuming it. Even if Yimo hadn't told him to eat it here, he wouldn't have dared take it outside. If he did, he would be killed instantaneously. Yimo had allowed him to eat it here clearly because he had taken that into consideration. Looking at the way Lu Sai ate it, Yimo knew that the guy must not have a cultivation method. He sighed. Without a cultivation method, eating this pill was no different from eating rice, a waste of food. He wouldn't even be able to absorb the pill without a cultivation method. How could he turn the pill's power into his own? Yimo walked over and patted Lu Sai on the head, helping him digest the power. When all the pill's potency had turned into inner qi, he went back up. "Yi Qianbei, I also found out some things. These are my results, please have a look." Qianbei, a woman walked up this time. Yimo knew this woman. When he came here last time, other than Jiao Bieni, this woman was the first to subdue to him. Yimo remembered she was called Shu Yuhua and had the nickname of Black Widow. This time too she was wearing black clothes. Since she was able to procure some results in such a short time, it meant that this woman wasn't simple. Furthermore, she was one out of the mere 3 yellow levels present, yellow level peak at that, having the highest cultivation out of the 3. She probably had her own story, but Yimo didn't care about it. Yimo took the data from her and gave it a look. If it turned out to be worthless, he wouldn't be giving up his Kai increasing pill that easily. Yimo saw that there was actually a lot of info. This woman was meticulous indeed. This was precisely what he needed. What she had found out was that the model of the plane was a US millimeter 871, and the info even described its max speed and altitude. This model had an escape cockpit which could be opened and came with a parachute. Yimo felt relieved. This was what he wanted indeed. But this wasn't even all. She had gotten a hold of the names of almost all the passengers on board. Ning Qingshue's name was among it. Other than this, it also noted that there had been at least 4 people who worked for Yuan Bay Corporation on the plane. Their goal had been to abduct Ning Qingxue and take her to America. The mastermind behind this was the young CEO of the corporation, Yuan Chibing. Slap. Yimo slapped on the round table. The solid granite table had a huge crater smashed into it. The scene was quiet, no one dared make a sound. "Yuan Chibing, you're asking for an early death yourself, so don't blame me," Yimo said to himself. From Shu Yuehua's investigation it seemed that even if nothing had happened to Ning Qingxue on the plane, she would have been abducted by Yuan Chibing. Yimo looked at Shu Yuehua. "You did very well, being able to find so much useful intel in a mere few hours. If you had had more time, perhaps you would have found out even more. Thank you for your compliment, Qianbei. This is simply what Wanbei should do." Shu Yuehua quickly stood up. Yimo nodded. Shu Yuehua wasn't old. She was at most in her 30s and having been able to reach yellow level middle stage, this meant that her talent was quite good. Her origins weren't simple either. He wondered how someone like her had started working in the mafia. TL note: yes, I know it was said before that she's yellow peak, and now that she's yellow middle. This is the original text of the author. He probably meant peak of yellow level middle stage. She said that this was what she should do, and not that it had been her luck. This meant that she truly was a capable woman. Her power in Hong Kong far exceeded your average gang level. Someone like her would be useful to him. At this moment, Lu Sai suddenly yelled. He jumped up and punched. The solid stone floor had a bowl-sized dent punched in by his fist. Even the house started shaking. Everyone was shocked once again. Lu Sai could make such a big hole in the solid granite floor. This meant that his power had increased to an incredible level. Yimo nodded. Not bad. You have yellow level power now and some inner chi too. You just need to learn a few moves and you'll truly have become a yellow level. There was something Yimo didn't say. Lu Sai's foundation was too shallow. He had never trained systematically before. Although he had brought him up to the yellow level, only his reaction speed and power was at the yellow level. There would still be some difference compared to someone who had trained to the yellow level by himself. Seeing Lu Sai became yellow level in such a short time and his power shocking everyone at the scene, people's eyes were red as they cursed for not having gotten this opportunity. But after that, everyone turned their eyes to Xu Yuhua. From Yimo's words, they knew that the next one to get the pill was Xu Yuhua. Xu Yuhua also stared at Yimo nervously. Ever since she'd reached yellow level middle stage, she had sunk into a bottleneck. 5 years had gone by, and she was still yellow middle stage. This was due to her lacking cultivation time and environment, but also due to not having any good herbs to her disposal. She had never doubted her potential. If her potential wasn't good, she wouldn't have reached yellow level in her 30s. Thank you for everything, Qianbei. Only now do I realize how pitiful I was before. Lu Sai walked up to Yimo and knelt down. Before he'd reached yellow level, he had had no concept of ancient martial arts at all. He just knew that yellow level was stronger than him. But now that he reached the yellow level and had some faint inner chi in his body, he realized how ridiculous his thoughts were before. He also grasped that if a normal martial artist were to fight with a yellow level warrior, then no matter how good they were, they would die for sure. He hadn't even dared dream about his current power before. From this, one could see how terrifying Yimo was. Yimo waved his hand and said, "No need to thank me, this is what you deserve. Go back first." Everyone looked at Lu Sai with envy. Although everyone wanted to ask how strong he was right now, no one had the guts to talk now. Some gangs who had conflicts with Lu Sai were already thinking of ways to resolve them. Yimo looked at the hopeful Xu Yuhua and said, "You are very good. There's a Kai increasing pill here, eat it now. It depends on your luck if you can reach black level or not." When he gave a pill to Luo Xian, she had been just yellow level middle stage, yet she reached black level primary stage peak under the effects of the pill. But Xu Yuhua was already at the peak of yellow level middle stage. Xu Yuhua quite possibly might reach the black level. Yimo's words shocked everyone again. He said she might even reach black level. Everyone knew there were 3 yellow levels from what Yimo had said in the morning, but they didn't expect she actually wasn't yellow level primary stage. Her name wasn't well known in Hong Kong, yet she was a yellow level. This made a lot of people who had had nefarious schemes for her feel some cold sweat. Xu Yuhua took the pill excitedly. For her, it was already heavenly fortune if she could break past the yellow level middle stage barrier. But Yimo said that she might even reach black level. She almost couldn't contain herself from excitement. Black level. She had never even dreamed about it before. Seeing Xu Yu consume the pill and digest it, Yimo nodded. Xu Yuhua did have her own cultivation method. But even the yellow level middle stage Xu Yuhua didn't dare to bring the pill outside and chose to take it here. Seeing Xu Yu consume the pill and digest it, Yimo nodded. Xu Yuhua did have her own cultivation method. But even the yellow level middle stage Xu Yuhua didn't dare to bring the pill outside and chose to take it here. With everything done, Yimo stood up. "Thank you everyone for your help. I will gift everyone a recovery pill." Then, The meeting ends here today, you may leave after taking your pill. Yimo took out a big porcelain vase and gave it to Zhao Bieni, making him give everyone one. This pill wasn't very precious but could treat wounds much better than normal medicine. Although only 2 people got the Kai increasing pill, everyone was happy that they got the recovery pill. Even if Yimo hadn't given anything, no one would have dared to go against his orders. Seeing that everyone had left, Yimo took out a normal ancient martial arts cultivation method for Zhao Bieni and said, "You've helped a lot this time, here is an ancient martial arts cultivation method. What degree you reach will depend on your own fortune." If Yimo had taken out something else, he might have been polite and tried to reject it, but an ancient martial arts cultivation method? This was something even the great families of China might not have. How could he reject that? Although it was useless to Yimo, it was worth more than millions to Zhao Bieni. Zhao Bieni took it excitedly and swore loyalty to Yimo. Yimo waved his hand, he didn't even take Zhao Bieni's words to heart. Zhao Bieni was afraid because he could kill him in an instant. If his power were weaker than his, Zhao Bieni might just kill him immediately. The reason he gave everyone a pill and Zhao Bieni a cultivation method was because he might need their help in the future. He couldn't just come when he needed help and leave when he didn't. If things were to continue like that, then even if they didn't dare to not come, they would do things half-heartedly. I have a friend called Mo Ping, if he comes tomorrow, tell him that I'm already gone. Yimo was afraid Mo Ping would come looking for him. Mo Ping? Zhao Bieni repeated. What? You know him? Yimo looked strangely at Zhao Bieni. Zhao Bieni nodded nervously. If it's the Mo Ping of the Half-Mountain Mansion, I know of him, but I don't know him personally. His uncle is a British baron, and he is the chief of commerce of the Hong Kong Commercial Association. Yimo just realized that Mo Kang and Mo Ping had such a status, yet no matter how much status they had, they were played with however the hidden sects liked it. Okay, you leave first. I have something to say to Shu Yuhua. Yimo saw that she had digested the pill, and her face showed surprise and joy. Yes. Zhao Bieni quickly exited. Today's events had been like a dream. Even now, he didn't dare to believe that he had acquired an ancient martial arts cultivation method. Walking outside, Zhao Bieni thought of something. How could Yimo take out so many things if he wore such thin clothes? He wondered how Yimo had taken out all these things. Thinking about this, Zhao Bieni shivered and quickly stopped his thoughts. Yimo studied Shu Yuhua and felt disappointed. Her cultivation ability was far less than her investigation capabilities. Shu Yuhua had only reached half-step black level. Still, she couldn't be blamed. This was due to her potential and cultivation method. Luo Xian came from the inner hidden sects. Her cultivation method must be the top of the top. Also, not everyone could become a core member of the inner hidden sects like her, so since she could, it meant her talent was first grade. If it wasn't due to Ning Qingxue, Yimo wouldn't take out the precious Kai increasing pill. Although those little more than 10 pills were useless to him, he still had a lot of people working for him. Shu Yuhua walked in front of Yimo with joy, bowed and said, "Thank you for your pill, Chen Bei. I didn't expect to benefit so much." Compared to Yimo's thoughts, she was very satisfied. Not only had she reached the tertiary stage of the yellow level, she went past the peak stage and reached half-step black level. Yimo nodded and said, "Although you didn't reach black level now, you can in a few years of hard work." Shu Yuhua, you're a smart person. Do you know why I made you stay behind? Shu Yuhua wasn't ugly, but she wouldn't be so arrogant as to think Yimo wanted her here for her looks. Chen Bei, please make your orders. Although my power in Hong Kong is average, I have my ways. Shu Yuhua immediately understood what Yimo meant. Yimo nodded in approval. Your abilities are undoubtedly there. If possible, I want you to keep investigating this matter for me. And if you want, you may go to Flowing Snake. I have something that I need someone like you to do. However, the moment you go to Flowing Snake, you belong to me. Of course, this all depends on what you want. I won't force you, don't worry. If you do agree to go to Flowing Snake, then go there after you finish your investigation. If not, then just give your investigation results to Zhao Bieni. You don't need to reply to me now, you can think it over first. Flowing Snake. Shu Yuhua exclaimed. That was Luo Yu's territory. She quickly understood though, she was really stupid. If Luo Yu didn't belong to Yiqianbei, how would Fei Yu have been able to get the spot? Furthermore, Yi Mo taking out that many pills had to mean that he was a pill master. Indeed, Yi Mo confirmed, Luo Yu is my asset, but you probably figured that out already. Yi Mo thought that if Xu Yuhua were to join Luo Yu, they wouldn't have people investigating them yet know nothing about it anymore. Neither Xu Ping nor Fang Nan could be intelligence officers. They lacked the brains and a kind of meticulous thinking. Xu Yuhua could fulfill this job and, more importantly, if she joined Luo Yu, Yi Mo planned for her to investigate North Sand. He wanted to annihilate them, but he didn't know much about them. After Xu Yuhua left, Yi Mo called Yu Miaodan, Sister Yu, use all means at your disposal to bring down Yuan Bei Corporation. As for the Yuan family people, I will go for their throats after I come back. Okay. Even without Yi Mo making this call, Yu Miaodan was planning to do just that. How dare that Yuan Chibing scheme for Ning Qingxue? Is Yi Ling still alright? Yi Mo asked. Yu Miaodan immediately replied, she's very busy studying pill concoction with Erhu. Yi Mo afterwards made some simple arrangements with Jiao Bianyi and left searching along the flight route. At this moment in another mansion, 4 men sat closely negotiating. The 4 of them had a name, the Hong Kong 4 strange looks. However, people only dare whisper this name, because those who've said it in front of them have been killed. The 4 were all brothers and were the cruelest out of the entire Hong Kong mafia. Even the police felt fear for the 4. Although they were brothers, they didn't look like each other at all. That's why they were called the 4 strange looks. The tallest man was the big brother, called Fu Yujin. He was yellow level. The long-haired man sitting on the ground was Fu Yuyin, the second brother. The shortest was third brother Fu Yusan. The youngest was the fastest and whitest, he was Fu Yuhai. The 4 brothers were pirates and had found an ancient martial arts cultivation method in a tomb. The tomb had almost killed them though, so they hadn't ventured in any further, just leaving with the book. With this cultivation method, the big brother reached yellow level middle stage, but second, third as well as fourth brother were only almost nearing yellow level. Because of their talent, they were stuck. They knew there were good things in that tomb, but even though they liked adventuring, they weren't stupid. They knew they would die for sure if they went in. So the 4 had arranged to go in again once they all reached yellow level. But due to the other 3 being unable to reach yellow level and because they were living well in Hong Kong, they dumped that aside. But then today, Yi Mo said that he had a pill for reaching the yellow level. They too had gone to Yi Mo's meeting today, all of them interested in the Kai increasing pill. They too had gone to Yi Mo's meeting today, all of them interested in the Kai increasing pill. If it was just some average thingy, then they would fear Yi Mo's power and not dare take any risks, but the Kai increasing pill had sent them into a frenzy. Even an idiot like Lu Sai who had no cultivation method could get a pill. How could elite people like them not get one? One could imagine that if the 4 of them got the Kai increasing pill and all became yellow level, with there being a possibility of Fu Yujin reaching black level, they would then be able to dominate the world. But the problem was, Yi Mo's name was too great and so was his power that they witnessed. They didn't know whether they should make a move or not. Big brother, Yi Mo is only by himself, and you're yellow level. If we ambush him, there's a high chance that we will succeed, Fu Yuyin said. He really wanted to reach yellow level and go explore that ancient tomb again. The third brother shook his head, second brother, big brother is right to hesitate. We saw for ourselves today, although he's a little weaker than us, that Li Baoya was not bad, yet Yi Mo killed him so easily. And that fireball is very strange too. Fu Yujin nodded, third brother is right, if Yi Mo was really that easy to attack, that old fox Jiao Bianyi wouldn't be so easy to talk to. His subordinate Peng Yang is no worse than me, why doesn't he attack then? Peng Yang fought with Yi Mo last time, and he was no match for him at all. Furthermore, do you think Earth Fiend is that easy to annihilate? I don't need to explain to you the terror of Earth Fiend, yet they were actually annihilated by Yi Mo. He's too horrific. If the pill was in anyone else's hands, I would charge up without a doubt. But this Yi Mo, he's too strong. Fu Yujin shook his head. The fat brother stood up now. He was the fourth brother and the most cunning one out of the four. The reason they could have their current status today was heavily related to his work. Fu Yuhai shook his head. Let's not talk about who is right or wrong. The use of the Kai increasing pill is too great for us. If we have it, then even if we go against the legendary hidden sects, we still might not have to be afraid. And this thing isn't something we can buy with money. Fu Yujin looked strangely at Fu Yuhai and asked, "You're saying we should attack?" Fu Yuhai nodded. "I support attacking. The only reason why we are where we are now is because we obtained that ancient martial arts cultivation method. What would we become if we got the Kai increasing pill on top of it? But fourth brother, don't you know Yi Mo's power? Not only did he annihilate Earth Fiend, Nanqing and Metal River were defeated by his hands all the same." Fu Yusan frowned. Fu Yuhai sneered, "Of course we will attack, but the key is how we are going to attack. If he's really that powerful, Nanqing would be long dead and not remain the local overlord of Psi-Na. Also, Earth Fiend was indeed strong, but that was in terms of assassination. They were assassins. Even a normal assassin would be able to assassinate a yellow level. Yi Mo is strong, I never said he wasn't. His fireball has the capability to kill, sure, but why does he use it? To make us fear. If he really were strong to the point of killing us just by raising his hand, would he need us to fear him? Plus, Fu Yuhai scanned his brothers and said, "I suspect that fireball of his is related to some high-tech tricks. Big brother, let me ask you, if you had such a fire weapon, could you slap and burn Liu Baoya to death?" "This of course I could," Fu Yuhai answered subconsciously. Fu Yuhai nodded, "That's right. I think that Yi Mo should be about black level. We know how hard that is to reach. The book said that if you are talented, you can reach black level in 50 years. How old is Yi Mo? So, we'll definitely treat him as a genius, but he's at most black level nonetheless. But fourth brother, I heard that Daoist Xian of Metal River also died by his hands." "Daoist Xian was black level," Fu Yusan commented. Fu Yuhai said confidently, "Let's not talk about whether Daoist Xiao was black level or not. Even if he was, can't Yi Mo have ambushed him? That's why, if we want to kill Yi Mo, we can't fight him head-on. We're no match for him. We need special means to kill in one strike. This Kai increasing pill is worth the risk." Fu Yuyin said, "I agree with fourth brother, his analysis is very sound." Fu Yujin was obviously convinced and asked, "Fourth brother, what's the plan?" Fu Yuhai smiled, "I think we should give him a taste of his own medicine." "Explain," Fu Yuyin said. Fu Yuhai had a cruel look on his face. "We'll get someone to make a huge bomb, maybe even an incendiary one. I heard that there's an organization in Southeast Asia that is able to make laser bombs. It's tens or even hundreds of times more powerful than normal bombs, but it's pricey. Still, I believe that compared to the Kai increasing pills, money means nothing." Seeing that the others didn't speak up, Fu Yuhai continued, "Of course, we need to choose a good ambush location so that we manage to kill him in one go. Okay, let's negotiate how we're going to act out the plan. It's a pity we don't have any special bombs ready. If we did, tonight would have been the best timing. Yi Mo sent us away, but he kept that sexy black widow. Perhaps they're doing it. I really didn't expect her to be a yellow-level warrior. What a shame, if only I could have a go on her." Fu Yuyin commented in disappointment. Fu Yujin shook his head, "Second brother, we're talking about a serious matter here. This concerns our lives. Yi Mo would never keep Black Widow for sex. Actually, perhaps he has already left Hong Kong. Big brother is right. If Yi Mo was someone like that, we wouldn't need to be so careful. But if second brother wants Black Widow, it's really a simple matter. Even if she reached black level, we could still capture her. However, we shouldn't try her before we have Yi Mo. I think the reason Yi Mo kept her was due to her intelligence-gathering abilities," Fu Yuhai warned. Fu Yuyin laughed awkwardly. It was just a joke. Xu Yuhua was also being hesitant. She was considering whether she should follow Yi Mo or not. Yi Mo had stated very clearly that he wanted her to work for him. Xu Yuhua believed that even if she disagreed, Yi Mo wouldn't go back on his words and trouble her. But she had her own hardships too. No one knew that she actually originated from an annihilated hidden family. Only she had escaped the massacre of her family. Her father had given her an ancient martial arts cultivation method, and it took her almost 20 years to stumble to the yellow level middle stage. She knew that with that kind of progress, she would never be able to get revenge in her entire life. She thought that since Yi Mo had formed such a big company, had connected with Hong Kong's high-profile people and had even annihilated Earth Fiend, this meant that he had great ambition. If she were to get involved in it, she would be affected for sure. She was used to her current life. Although she had no hope at getting revenge, she felt that her current life was peaceful. Even though she was in the mafia society, she never really went to fight and kill. She was doing proper business, which didn't mean that she didn't come into contact with the mobs. The reason why she was called Black Widow was because a medium-sized gang had wanted to take her in and seize all of her business. During the ensuing conflict, she annihilated the entire gang. Just like that, her name got big. That's why no one in the underground world dared do anything to her. She considered life to be better than before. But she understood that if she didn't follow Yi Mo, her life would be just that. There would be no progress. She gave it a lot of thought and in the end decided to have a look and see whether Yi Mo was the ambitious person she thought he was. As soon as she came back to her hotel though, it turned out that there was already someone waiting there for her. "Do you have some business with me?" Xu Yuhua noticed that the person who was waiting for her was Lu Sai, the gang leader of the Ocean Gang. Such a minor gang wasn't worthy of Xu Yuhua's consideration though. "Do you have some business with me?" Xu Yuhua noticed that the person who was waiting for her was Lu Sai, the gang leader of the Ocean Gang. Such a minor gang wasn't worthy of Xu Yuhua's consideration though. Lu Sai knew his own status and knew that he amounted to nothing in her eyes. Seeing Xu Yuhua, he stood up and said respectfully, "Big Sister Xu, I came to serve you." Xu Yuhua looked at Lu Sai confusedly. "You want to follow me? Your businesses are all in the sea, while mine concern hotels and intelligence." Lu Sai said seriously, "Sister Xu, I know that my Ocean Gang must seem worthless in your eyes. I was lucky that Yi Qianbei gave me a Kai increasing pill. I reached the yellow level all thanks to this pill. And after reaching the yellow level, I came to realize how lowly I had been before." Xu Yuhua seemed to have understood where he was going with this. She sat down and told Lu Sai to sit down first too. After sitting down, Lu Sai continued, "I know fully well that my meager abilities are worth nothing to Yi Qianbei, but it's different for Sister Xu. Yi Qianbei wants to keep Sister Xu due to Sister Xu's capabilities. So I think if I follow Sister Xu, then if Sister Xu follows Yi Qianbei, I can benefit a little too." Xu Yuhua started looking at Lu Sai properly for the first time. No wonder her father had told her to never underestimate anyone. Lu Sai didn't have great fame and was just a small boss in the Hong Kong mob world, yet he could see that far ahead, imagining why Yi Qianbei would keep her. He wanted to progress higher, which meant following Yi Mo. But he knew that Yi Mo didn't need him, so he came to her instead. This person was quite cunning. Although the Ocean Gang was a small gang, it was still a fat piece of meat. Also, he had managed to survive in between all those big gangs, which proved that he wasn't that simple. "You're very smart," Xu Yuhua applauded. She finally comprehended that she wasn't the only smart person around. She had still been thinking about whether or not to join Yi Mo, yet some people were already trying all they could in order to follow Yi Mo. "Thank you for your compliment, Sister Xu, but I don't dare to be called smart in front of Sister Xu. I am loyal though, so if Sister Xu is willing to accept me, I swear that I will manage affairs wholeheartedly for Sister Xu," Lu Sai promised solemnly. Xu Yuhua smiled and stood up. "Gang leader Lu, go back for now. If one day I really do end up following Yi Qianbei, I will notify you." Lu Sai rejoiced and stood up. Before he left, he hesitated as to whether or not he should voice his conjecture. "Is there something else?" Xu Yuhua had noticed it. Seeing her ask, Lu Sai seemed to have made up his mind and said, "Yes, Sister Xu. Today, when Liu Baoya wanted to rob the pill, I was sitting behind the four strange looks. I saw that Fu Yuyan had actually wanted to stand up but was quickly pulled back by his big brother. I took special notice of the four, and as soon as they left the meeting hall, They signaled each other and gave each other a nod before speeding away. I suspect that they might try to harm Yi Qianbei. Xu Yuhua frowned and stared at Lu Sai, saying slowly, "In that case, why didn't you go tell Yi Qianbei?" Lu Sai said awkwardly, "I'm afraid that Yi Qianbei might think I'm intentionally trying to get close to him. Also, I had been sitting behind the four strange looks, hence if I went to tell Yi Qianbei, this might reach their ears. My ocean gang is but a small gang, they would destroy us easily. But you're yellow level now, why are you afraid of a mere four strange looks? Besides, aren't you afraid that I will expose you?" Xu Yuhua said suspiciously. Lu Sai said carefully, "The four strange looks can make even gang leader Jiao feel threatened, there's no way they're that simple. And even if I myself am not afraid, my men are ordinary people, they could be easily killed by them. As for exposing me, Sister Xu wouldn't expose me for this. If I didn't trust Sister Xu's integrity, I wouldn't have come today." Xu Yuhua nodded, "Okay, I got it. I will take note of this, go back first. When I need you, I will notify you." Lu Sai left the hotel happily. He knew that since Xu Yuhua had said this much, it meant that if she were to follow Yi Mo, she would definitely take him with her. Before Lu Sai had experienced the power of yellow level, he didn't think much of it. But now that he was yellow level himself and had realized its power, he desired more of that power. Xu Yuhua had indeed refreshed her outlook on Lu Sai. He had a brain and wasn't impulsive. Regardless of whether what he had seen was correct or not, she was planning to investigate it. The pill Yi Mo had given her far exceeded what she had done for him. She could handle such things easily, so why not? Moreover, other people might fear the four strange looks, but she didn't. The moment Ning Qingxue jumped off the plane, she knew she would still die. A strong sense of suffocation came upon her. She felt a strange air current about to wash her away and a huge pressure almost crushing her. She couldn't even breathe. In a short moment, she started to hallucinate. This was completely different from the skydiving she had trained. And this was when the plane had descended to less than 10 kilometers above Earth. If it were higher than 15 kilometers, she would have gotten ripped apart. It seemed like the parachute wasn't opening for a century. Ning Qingshue's brain was chaotic. She was suffocating and about to be ripped apart, yet at this moment, the necklace on her chest emitted a white light that protected her. This time, Ning Qingxue saw it clearly. The white light was faint but seemed like it could last a long time. That pressure and cold was gone, but she could still barely breathe. Was she going to die of suffocation? Just when she was feeling extremely suffocated, a faint Kai flow went up to her brain, making her clear up again. What was this? Ning Qingxue remembered the cultivation method Tang Beiwei had taught her. The first meridian cycle Tang Beiwei had taught her went the same way as this Kai flow had gone. Ning Qingxue rejoiced. Had she really once learned this cultivation method? Had Yi Mo really taught her this before? Still, that Kai flow had been very weak, so without a second thought Ning Qingxue started to complete the meridian cycle Tang Beiwei had taught her. At a few thousand meters above the ground, the parachute opened by itself, but Ning Qingxue was still sunk deep into completing the meridian cycle. She didn't even feel the parachute open. After a long time, Ning Qingxue felt a piercing coldness on her skin as she woke up. She hadn't died. She had landed on the boundless ocean. Ning Qingxue immediately realized that she had landed in the Pacific Ocean. But if she wasn't going to be able to find land, she would eventually still die nonetheless. Ning Qingxue unbuckled the parachute and then remembered there should have been an emergency flotation hoop in the cockpit, but she hadn't considered that much at the time and hadn't taken it out. In her bag, other than some food, there was only some fire-starting equipment and medicine. Ning Qingxue shivered. Even if she didn't drown, she would be frozen to death or eaten by sharks. Ning Qingxue held on to the bag tightly. She couldn't throw this away. If she did, then she wouldn't live even if she did find land. The frigidness was permeating deeply into her bones. Ning Qingxue subconsciously started to run the meridian cycle again. She felt strange about it. As long as she cultivated, that coldness would go away. She even felt a little bit warm. Time passed slowly, and when Ning Qingxue woke up again, it was already night. In front of her there was a white glacier reflecting the moonlight. Ning Qingxue rejoiced and started swimming towards it. She felt lucky that she still had so much stamina after such a long time. However, she was quite hungry. When she came to this glacier, Ning Qingxue started feeling cold again. The wind blew as she cowered into a crevice within the icy mountain. The freezing temperature forced her to keep up the cultivating. She opened up a can and ate it, all the while continuing with her cultivation. She knew that the moment she stopped, she would freeze. Currently, Ning Qingxue started to believe more and more that she had practiced the cultivation method Tang Beiwei taught her before. She understood a lot of the directions of the meridian cycle and completed it as if by habit. By the time Ning Qingxue woke up again, the sun was already up. Ning Qingxue found that the clothes on her body had already dried, however, her necklace's light seemed dull. By the time Ning Qingxue woke up again, the sun was already up. Ning Qingxue found that the clothes on her body had already dried, however, her necklace's light seemed dull. Ning Qingxue took it out and looked at it worriedly. When she saw the protection of the necklace, she felt an emotional attachment to it. It was like her friend, sacrificing its lustrous appearance to protect her. Was it really just as Mumei had said? The last time, had this necklace also protected her in danger? Did the necklace turn dull last time as well? And as time went by, it recovered its sheen? Putting the necklace down, Ning Qingxue investigated the situation her own body was in. There seemed to be some extra power in her dantian. She could use the power inside of it however she liked. Was this the Kai Tang Beiwei had spoken of? Or the qi of ancient martial arts? Master Wu Guang had said that in order to cultivate qi, even a talented ancient martial arts practitioner had to spend at least 5 years or more. Normal people needed 10 years. And some would never be able to get it in their entire lives. She'd only cultivated for 20 or so hours and gotten in a qi. Suddenly, Ning Qingxue's face changed. She remembered something else that Master Wu Guang had said. If she really had had such power, then in 1 year's time, she should have been able to use her power to envelop her memories before she died. Had that really been the case? If it was all true, then this indicated that Mumei hadn't lied to her and Wu Guang's words had also been true. That would mean that she really had fallen in love with Yi Mo. How could this be? How could she fall in love with Yi Mo? Who was Yi Mo? She had already investigated him, some rich second-generation kid that was a trash to society. She believed that no matter what, they would have never been together. Wait, hadn't she ignored something? According to Mumei, Yi Mo had changed a lot. When Yi Mo came to Yu State to find her, he really did seem different from the Yi Mo she knew. Other than still being obsessed with her, everything else was different. That day, he had said that he was going to help her recover her memories, yet she'd told him to leave, to piss off even. The reason she went as far as to use the words piss off was because she saw her mother kneel to him, and that had made her angry. His face had turned very pale at the time as he took out that pill he claimed to be a face-preserving pill, yet after she ate it, she still told him to leave. He even spat blood then. Her mom had been even worse of, saying that the spot Yi Mo was standing in was her home, and she had made Yi Mo leave through the window. Ning Qingxue suddenly imagined the desperation and pain Yi Mo's heart had to have been in at the time. She had indeed felt the changes in her body after eating the pill. Had that face-preserving pill been for real? Didn't that mean that it was worth a fortune? She thought Yi Mo had been bullshitting, yet after seeing the effects of the defensive necklace and the Luoyu beauty pill, she ended up doubting those thoughts. Beauty pill, face-preserving pill. Ning Qingxue suddenly came to realize that both pills were related to beauty. Didn't that suggest that the two pills were related? Concluding this, Ning Qingxue shivered. She understood now, considering how Fei Yu had gotten chosen and CEO Yu's attitude towards her, as well as the mysterious big boss of Luoyu. If she still didn't deduce that Luoyu was related to Yi Mo, she would simply be too stupid. If it weren't Yi Mo's company, why would Luoyu have chosen her corporation? If Yi Mo wasn't the big boss, why would someone as capable as Yu Miaodan have been so respectful to her? If not because she was Yi Mo's wife, why would Yu Miaodan have been so rude to Yuan Chibing, going so far as to even target him? After all, Luo Yu was a new company. They couldn't just randomly offend Yuan Bei even if they really didn't want to cooperate with them. How come Yu Miaodan hadn't sent representatives to other companies but just to hers? So that's it, Ning Qingxue murmured. She had come to realize a lot of things. She guessed that what Yi Mo had told her was probably true. Ning Qingxue grabbed her hair. Although she believed these things now, she still couldn't believe that she'd fallen in love with Yi Mo. Ning Qingxue sighed and cast these thoughts aside as she walked out from the crevice and found a place to sit. She took out some things to eat before realizing she was short on water. If she couldn't find land as soon as possible, she would die all the same. But before she died, she wanted to know why she would fall in love with Yi Mo and even preserve their memories when she had been moments from death. After a long while, she stood up dazedly. Countless thoughts flashed across her mind. She wondered how her parents were. They must be really worried. Ning Qingxue sat there for a whole morning. Then, Ning Qingxue decided that she needed to find land and couldn't just be wasting time here. The sun was covered by clouds with the temperature getting colder again. Ning Qingxue looked around. She figured that since she wanted to leave the glacier, she'd have to find a place to go on land. She really didn't like swimming in the ocean. In the far-off distance, Ning Qingxue actually saw a black shadow getting bigger and bigger. It was a ship. It really was a ship. Ning Qingxue's heart started thumping. This meant that there were people there, which in turn meant that she was saved. She stared at the ship as it held course towards her direction. She would scream for help as soon as the ship got near. It was getting closer, but one could see sails on top of the ship. It was already this era, and there were still ships with sails? Ning Qingxue felt it to be quite strange. As the ship neared, Ning Qingxue was about to wave with a towel when she saw the flag on the ship. It was an upside-down skull. Even in the middle of the day, Ning Qingxue could still feel the chills. There didn't seem to be even a single person on the ship, and Ning Qingxue quickly put her hand down. She was afraid to attract the ship. Luckily her eyes were good, or she wouldn't have been able to spot the skull flag. Ning Qingxue carefully hid in the crevice again and took out the gun from the bag. It was an MP5KA4. The thing was, she only had 2 clips, one of which had been acquired from the runny-nosed guy. But that one was burned, so she wasn't even sure if she would be able to use it. Other than that, she had 4 fireball charms. Tang Beiwei had given them to her before she left. She was really grateful to Tang Beiwei now. If not for her, she would have died on the plane and it wasn't certain whether her corpse might have been raped or not. Ning Qingxue carefully put the fireball charms on her, tied the dagger to her leg and held the gun in her hand, before staring at the ship that was sailing over. Ning Qingxue didn't have much nautical knowledge, but that skull flag definitely signified that those on board wouldn't be any virtuous people. She even suspected that it was a pirate ship, but she didn't seem to see anyone on it. In this day and age, who still used sails? This alone was already very eerie on itself. Ning Qingxue didn't like watching movies, but she had still seen those movie posters. If this ship was really a pirate ship, she would only be able to pray that they didn't see her. She would rather die alone on this glacier than be taken away by pirates. She had 2 clips, so no matter what, if she were to get caught by pirates, she wouldn't allow herself to be raped. Ning Qingxue got more and more worried as the ship neared her. She could see some things on the ship which appeared to be a couple of huge anchors. But other than that and the flag, she didn't see anything. The skull flag looked scary, and Ning Qingxue felt goosebumps all over her. She stuck closely inside the crevice as she held the gun, not daring to move a bit. The ship barely skimmed past the glacier Ning Qingxue was on. It was as though the people on the ship didn't care at all if it would crash. The ship barely skimmed past the glacier Ning Qingxue was on. It was as though the people on the ship didn't care at all if it would crash. Ning Qingxue didn't even dare move. This ship seemed too quiet. There wasn't any sound at all. Ning Qingxue had a sudden thought. Was the ship moving on its own? Or was it indeed a pirate ship that had had a fight with another group and had everyone on the ship died? But even then, there should be some battle scars at least. What she was seeing was a perfectly fine ship. The sails even looked brand new. If this really was an empty ship, Then wouldn't she have greater chances of survival? Ning Qingxue rejoiced and didn't give it much further thought. Just as she wanted to get up and check the ship out, a sudden boisterous sound came from it, as though people were partying and drinking. There are people on the ship. Ning Qingxue quickly bobbed her head down, but the sound seemed to have disappeared again. Hold on, this wasn't right. The sound had come suddenly but also left just as suddenly. Ning Qingxue even wondered if she hadn't heard wrong. But no matter what, she didn't dare go on the ship anymore, nor did she dare even enter the water. This ship was too eerie. If there were people on it, they wouldn't let it brush past the glacier and still be drinking loudly inside. If there weren't people on it, the ship seemed to be moving a bit too fluently, right? Ghost ship. Ning Qingxue once again felt goosebumps. She had received a high level of education and was an atheist. If it had been before, perhaps she would have gotten on the ship already. But after having experienced the defensive artifact, the fireball charms and all those things, her atheism had gotten a bit shaky. Perhaps there really were ghosts in this world. The ship was scraping past the glacier without a stop, but Ning Qingxue didn't dare move and hid within the ice, listening carefully. Even after the ship had gone a long way, she didn't hear any sound. Had it just been her imagination? The sea surface got colder once again due to the sun being covered in clouds, and fog was also starting to form, while the ship disappeared from her sight. Ning Qingxue shivered. She didn't dare go into the water and search for land anymore. She might as well just stay on this glacier. In order to resist the cold, Ning Qingxue cultivated non-stop. When she got tired, she would eat a bit. During the day, as the sun came out, she stood on the glacier looking around in hopes of finding a normal ship. Yet Ning Qingxue grew more and more disappointed. The only fortunate thing was that the necklace had recovered some of its luster. She believed that it could indeed auto-repair as long as it didn't break. However, Ning Qingxue realized that her glacier was getting smaller and smaller. In some time, it would melt. Once the glacier melted, she would fall into the ocean again. Ning Qingxue looked around the ocean but didn't find another glacier. She reached her hand into the water and felt that it was a bit warm. What was this? Ning Qingxue climbed to the top of the glacier and looked around. Suddenly, she saw a black figure far away. It was an island. Ning Qingxue jumped around excitedly. If it wasn't for the fact that she didn't like being around a lot of people originally and that she had a cultivation method at her disposal, she might have gone crazy staying on a glacier by herself for days on end. She fretted whether the glacier she was on would somehow float over to that island. She was afraid of getting in the water again and swimming over if it didn't. Luckily, Ning Qingxue saw after a while that her glacier was indeed floating towards the island. She rested easy. Even if she wouldn't be saved by people in the end, she would rather die on land than being engulfed by the ocean. She hated the salty seawater yet had to use it to wash herself every day. Ning Qingxue packed her things. The bag was already almost empty, so other than the slightly heavy gun, everything else was very light. Around the time it was getting dark again, the glacier neared the island. Only now did Ning Qingxue notice that this island wasn't small. She estimated it had to be more than 10 square kilometers. She rejoiced at seeing vegetation on the island and even seeing a few seagulls fly over the island. This meant that it was habitable. There was a smell of sulfur, and as Ning Qingxue looked up, she could see that at the center of the island, there was a spacious area. Ning Qingxue frowned. This island might be a volcano. If this volcano erupted, she would have nowhere to run to. But even if she knew this volcano could erupt, she would still go on it, because she had nowhere else to go now. When Ning Qingxue scanned around the island, she was dumbfounded. An eerie ship with sails had stopped by the island. Ning Qingxue didn't dare stand at the highest point of the glacier anymore. She quickly climbed down as the glacier was getting closer and closer to the ship. Ning Qingxue could see clearly that although the ship had stopped at the island, it hadn't thrown out its anchor. Ning Qingxue was sure that there was indeed no one on the ship, but she was still scared and prayed for the glacier not to get close to the ship. But the glacier still kept nearing the vessel, and with its current direction and speed, it would definitely crash into it. Should she jump into the water? Ning Qingxue hesitated. If there wasn't this eerie ship, She would. But with this ship around, she was all the more afraid of jumping into the water. After all, on the glacier she could still look around. Once she was in the water, however, who knew what could happen in there? A gust of wind blew and Ning Qingxue shivered. She suddenly came to realize that the glacier's course was being changed a little by the wind. This way, the glacier might not crash into the ship after all. Ning Qingxue felt a little relieved but still held onto the gun tightly, hiding on one side of the glacier. As the glacier brushed past the ship, Ning Qingxue subconsciously wanted to become aware of what was on the ship, and as soon as this thought rose up, the scene inside the ship was immediately projected inside her brain. Ning Qingxue was astonished. What was this? The moment she got startled, that image in her brain disappeared, but Ning Qingxue could clearly feel that there really was no one on the ship. Though in the largest room of the ship there was a table which even had meals on it. Ning Qingxue grew scared. She didn't understand how an image of the ship could have appeared inside her brain when she'd thought about it. Although Ning Qingxue was cultivating a Dao cultivation method, she still didn't know about spirit sense. She had mobilized her spirit sense just then and checked the inside of the ship, but had gotten so scared, not knowing how to use it, that she'd subconsciously retrieved it because of it. Ning Qingxue pondered, there is no one managing the ship, yet it didn't crash into any glacier or corals and managed to sail to this small island. If this isn't eerie, then what is? As she thought this, Ning Qingxue didn't dare even move anymore. She felt her hand sweat from holding the gun. If she had a choice, she would never want to get on the island due to this eerie ship, but she didn't. Suddenly, Ning Qingxue felt goosebumps all over again, as if a bleak wind had blown from the crevice of the glacier towards her. Ning Qingxue could clearly feel that before the bleak wind could near her, it was blocked by the necklace and disappeared. There was a warm flow of energy coming from the necklace that flowed through her body and calmed her down. Ning Qingxue grabbed the necklace and murmured, "Did you save me again?" "Thank you." The glacier finally touched the island. Ning Qingxue was afraid of staying on it, not because it was getting smaller, but because the glacier was right next to the ship. Ning Qingxue jumped onto the island. She didn't even dare look back as she just ran in the opposite direction of the ship. Yimo had already gone along the original plane route twice. According to Xu Yuehua's news, the plane had gone halfway when it went missing, and this was right in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Yimo had already gone along the original plane route twice. According to Xu Yuehua's news, the plane had gone halfway when it went missing, and this was right in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Yimo had searched many times already around this region but hadn't found anything. Yimo stood in the air above the Pacific Ocean. Although he was worried, there was nothing he could do. He hated that his power was too weak. It would be much easier to search if his spirit sense could scan tens of kilometers already. However, at the moment, he could only see around 400 meters with his spirit sense. But Yimo knew that having spirit sense which could reach tens of kilometers would already imply being at the Foundation establishment or even the Golden Core level. Although Yimo wasn't going at full speed, he was still tired from staying in the air for that long. Luckily, this was deep in the Pacific and the US submarines couldn't detect him. Otherwise, there might have been more trouble. It looked like there were no more clues, but Yimo wouldn't give up just like that. He had two options, either to go back to Hong Kong and think of alternatives or to keep looking. Yimo thought of the two Japanese men he had caught and their Black Sun Empire. If they did hijack the plane, wouldn't they have flown towards Japan? Realizing this, Yimo got excited and flew towards the north. Even though his Kai was depleted, he could always just take out the inflatable raft if he needed to rest. Although the hijacked plane had gone north, Yimo didn't think it would be in Japan. Otherwise, if they really had flown a hijacked plane so openly to Japan, they would be idiots. Yimo was sure that, even if the direction was north, they wouldn't go near coastal countries since each one had their own self-defense systems. This meant they could only fly towards deserted regions, like the Bai-Lin Ocean. Furthermore, the Bai-Lin Ocean was shared territory among Russia and the US, then the plane could be in some island in the Pacific or near Japan. It was another 2-hour journey and it was already 2 a.m. Yimo dropped onto the raft tiredly. After eating a simple meal, Yimo's Kai started to recover. After another hour, Although his Kai was far from a fully recovering, it was much better than before. There were all sorts of strange noises in the sea at night, but they didn't bother Yi Mo. He planned to keep searching during the day, after he was fully recovered. At that moment, he would have sworn to have heard the faint horn of an engine. It was probably a ship passing by. Yi Mo packed away the raft. He wanted to see what kind of ship it was. When Yi Mo approached it, he found out it was a normal fishing ship. But a fishing ship appearing in the middle of the Pacific at midnight was a bit eerie. A slightly larger wave could knock this ship over. Yi Mo turned invisible and landed on the ship. He sent his spirit sense in. There were large amounts of search tools and even an advanced radar. What would a fishing ship be searching for? Suddenly, Yi Mo focused. He saw the black sun symbol again. There were 4 people on the ship and they were all speaking Japanese. The 4 men had been probably searching for a long time but hadn't been able to find anything, and were returning now. Yi Mo didn't disturb them. He knew that he wouldn't be able to ask them anything, nor could he search their souls. So, he could only follow them and see what their final destination was. The ship had 2 engines and went very fast. Yi Mo realized this fishing ship was far more powerful than it looked. An hour later, the sky wasn't even bright yet when the ship stopped on an barren island. The island wasn't big, it was more like a rather large coral reef. The 4 men packed away the radar and docked the ship before entering the island. This island was only around 1 square kilometer. The 4 men got off and headed to the center. Yi Mo followed them. He found out there was a wooden house in the center and also a small pond not far away from it. If this coral island wasn't in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, Yi Mo really would have thought it was a temporary home made by fishermen, but now he was certain that the 4 men weren't fishermen. Plus, they had brought along a searching radar. Yi Mo had been scanned by radars before and he knew his invisibility couldn't trick high-level radars. He didn't know if the Japanese's radar was more advanced than the US radars, but Yi Mo still tried to be careful. However, what Yi Mo didn't expect was that after he only had walked a few steps, a siren went off. Then, the 4 men who had gone inside all rushed and pointed guns at Yi Mo, muttering in Japanese. Yi Mo looked down. He hadn't been caught by the radar, however, he stood on an alarm mine. These Japanese men were really cunning. If he hadn't searched with his spirit sense carefully, he wouldn't have been able to find the trap on the floor. Does any one of you understand Chinese? Although he had been caught, Yi Mo wasn't too annoyed. If he couldn't discover anything hidden, then he would show himself and interrogate them. After hearing Yi Mo's words, the 4 men looked at each other and then scanned the open sea. They wondered how Yi Mo had got on the island, but they soon gave each other signs and shot at Yi Mo's legs. They didn't want Yi Mo's life, they just wanted to capture him. But after the first gunshot, they immediately realized that Yi Mo was gone. Yi Mo only needed to look at their expressions to realize none of them understood Chinese. At the same time, a few windblades were shot. He left one alive, and the other 3 men were cut into many pieces. The remaining one saw that in an instant his 3 team members all turned into bits of flesh. He couldn't even understand how Yi Mo had attacked. He took a few steps back subconsciously and uttered something. He could see that Yi Mo only kept him alive to interrogate him. Yi Mo had realized that he didn't understand Chinese and it would be hard to ask him anything. He would keep him alive in order to bring him to Hong Kong. The man saw Yi Mo coming to him. He quickly took something and dumped it into his mouth. Yi Mo stopped. He witnessed what the man had done. Was it some potential activation pill? But then, Yi Mo realized he was wrong. The man's face had already turned black. Poison. Yi Mo approached him and grabbed the man's wrist. He found out that the poison was very potent. In that short time, his stomach and intestines had already been dissolved. Yi Mo let the man go. In order to save him, he would need to use large amounts of spirit kai and multiple lotus life pills. They were both precious and he wasn't willing to waste them. What is more, he knew that Ning Qingxue would probably jump in midway. Even if he saved the man, he wouldn't get any information. Yi Mo wasn't interested in their great scheme. He wanted to keep this man alive, not to ask him what their scheme was, but to bring him to their HQ to get revenge. Yi Mo walked into the small wooden house. The first thing he saw was an opened parachute. It was still wet. Was this the one Qingxue had used? Yimo got excited. Perhaps these people also came to find Ning Qingxue. They might have been afraid that Ning Qingxue knew too much and would expose them. That's why they went there to look for her. Yimo started searching inside the hut. Other than diesel and some daily items, he didn't find anything. Yimo walked up to those men he had killed and searched their bodies. Yimo found a diary. He opened it. There were multiple ocean maps in it. He could almost be sure that they were looking for Ning Qingxue. Yimo walked up to those men he had killed and searched their bodies. Yimo found a diary. He opened it. There were multiple ocean maps in it. He could almost be sure that they were looking for Ning Qingxue. Although Yimo didn't understand the words on it, he still recognized the name Ning Qingxue. Yimo found on the diary the location where the parachute was found. However, these were marked with longitude and latitude. He picked up the radar from the ground and realized he didn't know how to use it. He searched the entire Coral Island but didn't find anything about the Black Sun Empire. He could confirm two things so far. First, Ning Qingxue was safe when she jumped down, at least the parachute had opened. Second, Ning Qingxue hadn't been found by these people yet, which meant that she was still in the ocean. Although Yimo hated the Black Sun Empire a lot, he knew his priorities. Even if he wanted to look for trouble with them, he had to find Ning Qingxue first. Yimo carefully left his spirit sense mark in the room, as well as on their Black Sun symbols, before leaving on the fishing boat to search for Ning Qingxue, while learning how to use the radar. It took Yimo only 2 hours to figure out how to operate it. Using the radar to look around, Yimo was able to know which regions have been searched. That way, the search went much faster. It was way better than him flying in the air without a clue. The main thing was that he could conserve larger amounts of Kai. Yimo tried to focus on the places the 4 men hadn't been yet. After half a day, a fog billowed over the ocean. The air also seemed colder. Many glacier started to float by Yimo's ship. Yimo realized he seemed to have come to a group of glacier. The more Yimo searched, the more he was worried. Not only was the weather cold, there were no islands nearby. If she had fallen there, then even if she hadn't starved, she would still have frozen to death. The incident had occurred many days ago. Who knew if Ning Qingxue was still alive? Yimo was getting more and more worried. Near midnight, Yimo heard a voice calling out for help. Although Yimo could tell it was a male voice, Yimo still came to his rescue. It was a white male in his 30s sitting on a very small flotation hoop. He seemed like he was about to die. His lips were cracked and his skin was pale and soaked from staying in the water for so long. From his lifeless eyes, one could see he was not far from death. Yimo sighed. He hadn't found the person he looked for. Instead, he had came across someone else in need for help. He didn't understand how someone could appear in the middle of the ocean all by himself. But Yimo wasn't heartless. He approached him and pulled him on the ship. He gave him a pill before tossing him food and water. He could see this person was in this state due to dehydration. For the time being, he gave him a heart-saving pill, food, and water. This man was saved. After the pill melted in his mouth, the white man didn't have time to thank Yimo before quickly drinking a bottle of water and eating 2 cans. He had to admire the man's perseverance to live. After eating the food and water, he was obviously in better state. He kept on saying thank you to Yimo. Other than thank you, Yimo couldn't understand anything else. He just knew the man was talking in English. Seeing that he couldn't talk to this man, Yimo lost the interest to say anything and just kept fidgeting with the radar. The man saw Yimo take out the radar and muttered something again. "Do you know how to use this equipment?" Yimo asked subconsciously. "Are you Chinese?" Unexpectedly, the man spoke very fluent Chinese. Then he said excitedly, "I thought you were Korean or Japanese. I didn't expect you to be Chinese." As though the man thought his sentence had made Yimo unhappy, he quickly said, "Sorry, this is the Pacific Ocean. Chinese people rarely come here. But once again, thanks for saving my life. I'm Eden, American, but I like Chinese culture." After finding out that Eden could speak Chinese, Yimo was interested. He really wanted to know how Eden had got to this situation. As though he knew what Yimo wanted to say, he started telling his story without Yimo having to ask. Eden was a professional US golfer. He fell in love with a wealthy man's daughter, Daphne. However, Daphne didn't have feelings for him. Eden was a very persistent man. When he changed from a sprinter to a golfer, no one believed he would succeed, but he managed to make a name for himself through his talent and hard work. Although he wasn't really famous now, he believed he could reach the level of Tiger Woods. However, his sports career didn't bring him much wealth, and Daphne was the daughter of a wealthy US businessman. Eden found it hard to even go to the same venues she did, much less pursue her. But Eden didn't give up. He had found out that Daphne was taking the luxury cruiser Beamer from Los Angeles to Canada. He immediately used all his savings to buy a ticket. He wanted to copy Jack from Titanic and get Daphne's heart on the Beamer. It's said that the Beamer was the most advanced luxury cruiser in the world. But contrary to the Titanic, this was already the Beamer's third journey. Those who have taken the Beamer all believe it could beat any 8-star hotel in terms of comfort. However, the ticket price was also absurd. Only someone like Eden would use all his savings to get on it. Originally, this cruiser was very safe, but on the 6th day after leaving from the US, for some reason, it suddenly changed direction. Its original route was very safe, but an incident had happened to the Beamer. The US forces had detected an alien invasion in the Pacific. The aliens had even taken out a US submarine. Eventually, all the military power was drawn to the spot of the alien invasion, and no one cared about the Beamer after it left its original route. When people aboard realized that they had been abducted, the ship had already gone significantly off its original course. The first thing that Eden did after knowing the ship was hijacked was to go protect Daphne. But at that moment, the ship was filled with terrorists. Not only did they disable the alarms, they also steered the cruiser deep into the ocean. The basic bunker Eden was at and the luxury bunker which Daphne was at were separated. Eden could only worry. The captain and many crew members were killed, as well as those who resisted. Even those who looked a little bulky were killed. Not only did these people take the money, but also the women. Other than some old and ugly women who were killed, the younger ones were taken onto a ship with an upside-down skull on its flag. Eden managed to jump down into a flotation hook at first notice. Because there were too many passengers at the time and he wasn't the only one who had jumped, the terrorists didn't have time to care about all of them, and so he escaped. After hearing Eden say this, Yimo sighed. He didn't expect to hear about pirates hijacking a luxury cruiser. The US brags about its military power all the time, but they let pirates capture a luxury cruiser at their doorstep while they were still trying to capture aliens. However, Yimo also felt guilty. He had indeed attracted most of the US's military power in the sea, allowing the pirates to have an opportunity. But even so, these pirates had unusually big balls. It was like hanging their heads on their belts, trying to hijack a ship going from Los Angeles to Canada. Yimo knew these pirates weren't ordinary ones. They couldn't have known for sure that he would attract the US military forces. Since they didn't know, but they still dared to make a move, that meant that even without him being a distraction, they might have succeed. Other than that pirate flag, did you see anything else? Yimo wasn't too interested in this, but this had happened at the same time Ning Qingxue jumped. Hence, this made him want to go ask the pirates about it. Eden immediately said, at the time, there were 2 ships with sails. To be honest, I really couldn't believe there were ships with sails on the Pacific Ocean. I saw the pirates kick the women onto the 2 ships as they robbed everything. I desperately wanted to escape to get someone to save Daphne, so I don't know what they did to the Beamer. Were there 2 ships? Yimo repeated. Because Yimo asked, Eden thought Yimo doubted his words and added reassuringly, yes, there were 2 ships with sails, and there was a huge upside-down skull at the head of the ship. Because Yimo asked, Eden thought Yimo doubted his words and added reassuringly, yes, there were 2 ships with sails, and there was a huge upside-down skull at the head of the ship. Yimo picked up the radar and asked, do you know how to use this? Eden nodded, yes, this radar is a US military radar SY-923. I used it when I served the army. It's a bit old, but it's not bad. Yimo didn't expect Eden to have served in the army. He tossed the radar to Eden and said, "Take me to where the beamer was hijacked, I want to see it." "What? Do you want us two to go to that place?" Eden looked at Mo in shock. It was suicide. They didn't have a single weapon. Death was the easy way out if they were to look for those cruel pirates. Mo could tell what Eden was thinking from his face and said, "If we go there now, the pirates will be long gone. What are you afraid of? If you're afraid, then do as you wish. I have food on the ship and you can take with you as much as you can carry, but I'm going." Eden looked at the small hoop. He knew that no matter how much food he had, that flotation ring wouldn't save him. At most, he would live a few days more. "Okay, in that case, I'll take you there," Eden said, helplessly. Mo nodded and gave him a look of approval. Eden was not a bad person, he was 1.9 tall and large, but he hadn't tried to force Mo off the fishing boat. Mo could tell that Eden hadn't even thought about it. He was a good-natured person. If Mo were in his shoes, he wouldn't have killed him, but he would have at least knocked him out. If it had been a cultivator from Luoyu continent, he would have killed Eden and taken the boat for shore. Mo gave the radar to Eden and let him drive the boat. He saved his life, now Eden needed to prove his worth. Luckily, Eden didn't disappoint Mo. On the Sulphur Island, Ning Qingxue kept running. A huge lake appeared in front of her eyes, the water was very clear and there was steam coming off the surface. It was like a hot spring. Ning Qingxue looked back, that eerie bone ship was blocked by things and couldn't be seen. She stared at the center of the island. The smell of sulfur seemed to be getting stronger and stronger there. Ning Qingxue's heart stopped for a second. It was an active volcano indeed. Living there was like living on a bomb, but she didn't have any choice. Ning Qingxue put these thoughts aside and walked towards the lake. She felt the water, it was lukewarm. She tried drinking it, and it was fresh water. The joyful Ning Qingxue was no longer scared. She quickly took off her clothes and jumped into the water. These last days on the glacier had been very uncomfortable for her. She was a hygienic person, and a few days without showering made her very uncomfortable. After taking a shower, she washed all of her clothes and cultivated some more meridian cycles by the lake. The water on her clothes evaporated on its own. Ning Qingxue felt very light after taking the shower. She picked up her bag. She wanted to find a place to live by the lake. Although she could go find some other places beyond the lake, the hot spring caught Ning Qingxue's interest. If she couldn't find another place with fresh water, she would have to come over and get water every day. Ning Qingxue walked nearby the lake for a long time, and finally found a small cave by the hills. Ning Qingxue didn't know what kind of animal had made this, but it was rather clean and spacious. There was a huge rock next to the cave. The cave was very well hidden. The only thing was that Ning Qingxue could still see the ship from the cave. That ship was the thing Ning Qingxue hated the most. But other than that cave, Ning Qingxue hadn't been able to find a better place to live. Thus, she could only clean the cave, and cut some branches with her dagger to block the entrance. After everything was ready, she lied down on a big rock inside. She hadn't slept in days. If she hadn't been able to cultivate, she might have gone mad. Ning Qingxue soon fell asleep after lying down. She had been really tired these last few days. After sleeping for a long time, she thought she had seen a black figure dash in front of her, but her vision was blurry. This woke Ning Qingxue up immediately. She grabbed the gun next to her, and that black shadow disappeared from the cave in an instant. Ning Qingxue was no longer tired. What could that be? She didn't see clearly. She got off the rock and walked carefully to the entrance of the cave. The sun was up now, she had slept for more than 10 hours. However, the fog made the island seem very blurry. Was she hallucinating again? Ning Qingxue murmured. Ning Qingxue carefully checked the branches on the cave. They didn't seem to have been moved. She picked up the necklace on her chest again. Did you save my life once again? Although she didn't know if that black shadow was real or not, Ning Qingxue didn't dare to sleep again. She went outside and checked the landscape around her. As soon as Ning Qingxue walked outside, the deadly silent island was pierced by a loud shriek. Ning Qingxue was fraught with problems. She thought there were no animals on the island, but she had heard that loud shriek. She quickly tried to find a place to hide while pointing the gun outside. Two completely black naked primitive people walked up to her with wooden sticks in their hands from not far away. Other than a skirt made of fish skin around their waist, they didn't have anything. One of them had huge bosoms sagging down from her chest. Ning Qingxue knew she was a woman. Actually, there were people there, primitive ones. Ning Qingshue's heart palpitated rapidly. She thought of Tom Robinson's journey. Clearly, these ferocious primitive people couldn't be compared with Friday. Ning Qingxue held her breath. She was thinking about where to go next. The island was at most 20 square kilometers more or less. If there were primitive tribes living there, would they eat her? The next thing that happened almost made Ning Qingxue scream. That primitive male said something to the female, but she shook her head. But then, the male helped the female on the ground and flipped up her fishskin skirt. As the man did his business to the woman, Ning Qingxue immediately thought of the word rape. Ning Qingxue wasn't afraid to die, but this was too disgusting. She subconsciously grabbed her gun and thought about killing the man. But she didn't dare to because her aim wasn't good, she might kill the woman. Also, she was afraid of attracting more of their kind. This conflicting thought only occurred for a moment. Soon Ning Qingxue realized the immaturity of her thinking. She realized that this wasn't rape. The woman who was under the man flipped over and sat on the man. Her actions were much more wild and ferocious than the man. Not only so, she kept moaning and screaming as well. Ning Qingxue quickly turned her face away and spat. Her face blushed. How shameless. But thinking that these primitives were like animals, she didn't make a big deal out of it. Suddenly, there was another howl. Ning Qingxue looked in the direction it came, and the two people separated. The one howling was another male. The primitive people that came later seemed to care a lot about these two doing things behind his back. Ning Qingxue could tell from his angry expression. The woman separated the two men who were about to fight and pointed at a hacked branch not far away. The two men stopped arguing and walked over to the branch to check. Ning Qingshue's heart stopped for a second. They were looking at the branch she had chopped up to cover her cave. One man kept touching the end bit of the branch, as though he suspected something. Suddenly, he stood up and looked over at where Ning Qingxue hid. Ning Qingshue's heart beat rapidly again. She clenched her gun tight. They were coming over. What to do? Should she open fire? As though to prove Ning Qingshue's guess, the three primitive people started to head slowly to where Ning Qingxue was hiding. They walked carefully, using their sticks to push aside branches. As though to prove Ning Qingshue's guess, the three primitive people started to head slowly to where Ning Qingxue was hiding. They walked carefully, using their sticks to push aside branches. They knew someone was hiding there, however, they were afraid of getting ambushed. Ning Qingxue realized that if they got a few more steps loser, they would be able to see her. She didn't know whether to shoot or not. Although she wanted to, shooting would mean death. Even though they were primitive people, it was still too much for Ning Qingxue to handle. It was different from when she used the fireball to kill the Japanese man. He had tried to rape her, however now, she didn't know what to do about primitive people who hadn't hurt her yet. She thought of how the primitive man treated that woman, and felt scared. If the man saw her, she didn't dare to think of the results. Just when she was hesitating whether or not to shoot, the three of them suddenly stopped. The woman pointed at the ship and screamed. They had seen the ship, as Ning Qingxue understood, and they could also see the ship from where they stood. The man who had come later also screamed and ran to the ship. Seeing him go, the other two followed as though going later would mean that all the goods are gone. Ning Qingxue saw the three leave and felt relieved. If those three really had got to her, she would have had no choice but to fire, and that might have attracted more of them. Ning Qingxue went to the entrance of the cave and moved the branches a little, looking through them. She wanted to know what would happen if they managed to get on the ship. It wasn't very far, and Ning Qingxue could clearly see the three savages running to the side of the ship and charging at it. Two of them went in, yet one stayed outside. From their very familiar movements, Ning Qingxue guessed that it wasn't their first time seeing these ships come over. Their ancestors might have had an accident in the sea, therefore stayed there and reproduced. After a moment, the two who had gone inside ran out and jumped into the sea. Ning Qingxue saw clearly that the two men who had jumped into the sea didn't come out. The woman, who was waiting on the island, screamed after seeing them jump and ran for her life. She could also feel there was something wrong with the ship. Ning Qingxue felt scared. This ship was eerie indeed. The woman screamed louder and louder. Soon there were other sounds. Ning Qingxue confirmed her theory. There were others indeed. The woman saw these people. She came and ran to them while screaming, trying to express something. After speaking for a while, she suddenly fell to the ground and didn't make any noise. Two primitive women tried to pull her up and wake her up, but she didn't react. The primitive tribe went around the dead woman and approached the ship, leaving her behind. Ning Qingxue watched, wanting to see what the remaining people would do. However, the woman who had dropped dead on the ground suddenly got up. Ning Qingxue was confused. Had she lied? But the next scene shocked Ning Qingxue even more. The woman suddenly jumped into the sea and disappeared. Ning Qingxue watched this with horror. She couldn't really comprehend why this was happening. Was that ship really a ghost ship? After thinking about this, Ning Qingxue decided not to go near it. She suddenly thought of her necklace. Did she not got into the sea like that woman thanks to it? As soon as Ning Qingxue grabbed the necklace, she felt her kai going out of control. She didn't dare to keep watching and went back to the cave. The kai inside her body was reacting to it and made her shiver. It was like she was being burned alive. Ning Qingxue knew something wasn't right. There was a problem with her cultivation. She quickly blocked the entrance and sat on the huge rock, while running meridian cycles again. This time it was different than the previous cultivation. She felt the bustling of her kai as though it was trying to find a breakthrough point. Ning Qingxue didn't understand much about cultivation. After a while, Ning Qingxue felt suffocated. She was scared. It was like that kai had no place to go. If she didn't keep running the kai in meridian cycles, her meridians would burn. But as she cultivated, the kai in her dantian was getting more and more dense. Rumbling in her brain, she suddenly felt that the dense kai had a place to go as it burst open more meridians. Ning Qingxue didn't open her eyes, but rejoiced at feeling finally well. She felt relieved, as though she had broken through something. Suddenly, there was new kai rising in her dantian that immediately charged up to her Chenglin chakra point and into her head. That sense of comfort surged, it felt comfortable, and Ning Qingxue subconsciously moaned. She didn't open her eyes. She seemed to have gotten a lot of memories back. Ning Qingxue was shook. Was this what Master Wu Guang talked about? That when her power reached a certain level, her memories would recover on their own? More and more things rushed into her brain. She immediately realized that she really had recovered her memories. The memories of her with Yi Mo flowed back like the tide. From how she went to Ninghai to celebrate Su Jingwen's birthday, each scene flowed back clearly. That medical case and the receipts, that unused bank card, those bottles, the multiple times she asked for money from Yi Mo. Ning Qingxue's face grew pale. So that's how she had began with Yi Mo. Ning Qingxue's heart felt more and more pain. She didn't even dare to open her eyes now. She now understood why she didn't want to divorce with Yi Mo. She remembered when she found Yi Mo in the desert with Kai Wanqing, and Yi Mo followed her aunt, leaving her alone in the desert. When she saw Yi Mo leave, it was like her soul had gone empty. And that's when she completely fell in love with Yi Mo. Ning Qingxue didn't dare to open her eyes. She was afraid that she would lose her memories if she did. But her tears uncontrollably were flowing down her smooth white face. Chapter 416, Heart Longing for Return. Chapter 416, Heart Longing for Return. She remembered when Yi Mo finally accepted her at the bottom of the cliff in Shennong-jiao and how happy she had been at the time. She had gone to the Flowing Snake Desert and Shennong-jiao for Yi Mo. Yi Mo had done a lot for her, so she felt that what she did was necessary. Also, she was in love with him, the man she married. The heaven had pitied her when she saw Yi Mo about to die under the cliff. There, she had had the most wonderful time of her life. Yi Mo ate with her, taught her cultivation and even washed her and carried her out of the Shennong-jiao. He found the face-preserving fruit, and even though knowing that it was useless to eat it straight away, he still gave her such a precious fruit so she could eat. I still have many more, but even if this were the last one, I would give it to you if you wanted to eat it. Because, if you like it, I will give it to you. That was what Yimo had said to her. Then she also said that she forever belonged to Yimo. But, why did she not remember him after she got hurt? Why had she been that heartless? Ning Qingxue suddenly hated herself. She hated the person who made her lose her memories even more. Her love was very important to her, it surpassed everything in her life, even her desire to live. However, when Yimo had gone to find her, she told him to piss off. Did I hurt you? Ning Qingxue's heart was wrenching from pain. She wanted to appear before Yimo immediately and tell him that that hadn't been what she truly wanted to say. She regretted that day. She shouldn't have listened to her mom and should have let Yimo try to recover her memories. She finally understood why she had protected this memory in her soul when she had been about to die. If it happened again, she would do it without doubt. Whether it was 1 life or 10,000 lives, she was always going to remember Yimo, how he treated her, and her love for him. Ning Qingxue opened her eyes, and tears covered her face. Yimo was her everything. She was grateful to Li Mumei for giving her the courage to get her memories back. She couldn't understand why her mother had stopped her from getting her memories back. That was the most precious thing in her life. Yimo. Ning Qingxue murmured and stood up. She didn't want to stay on that island anymore. She desperately wanted to see Yimo. To her, Yimo was her everything. She finally knew about the spirit sense. The image that she had seen in her brain was real. She remembered that girl in Ninghai called Tang Beiwei who said she was Yimo's sister. She felt weird. She knew that Yimo's sister was Yi Ling, not Tang Beiwei. Ning Qingxue grabbed the gun and got out of the cave. She didn't want to stay there anymore. She needed to get back and find Yimo. However, Ning Qingxue stopped walking. She realized that she had seen before about 20 savages going inside the ship. She didn't know how long she had spent recovering her memories, but from the grey sky, she could guess it had been less than 8 hours. At that moment, she looked back at the ship but didn't see anyone. Did those primitive people get killed by the ghost ship? Ning Qingxue subconsciously felt the 4 fireball charms on her. Ning Qingxue knew that if she wanted to leave, she needed to use that ghost ship. Without it, she couldn't leave the island. She checked all her weapons and forced herself to calm down. Her desperation to see Yimo made her not fear the ghost ship. She believed that with her gun, the fireball charm and the necklace, her chances of survival were greater on the ship than on the island. There were primitive people and an active volcano on the island. Kiu, a piercing shriek made Ning Qingxue, who was extremely focused, shiver. She looked up and she saw a white figure perched on a branch that was staring at Ning Qingxue. It was a strange bird, like a condor. It was quite strange to see such a rare condor in the sea. However, Ning Qingxue could see intelligence and emotions in the condor's eyes. Ning Qingxue rubbed her eyes. She thought she must have seen it wrong. Could a bird have such emotions? The condor-like bird circled around Ning Qingxue and stood on top of the tree. Seeing this figure, Ning Qingxue suddenly remembered she had seen a shadow yesterday when she had been sleeping. So it was the condor. But why did it fly into the cave? Had it tried to harm her? Ning Qingxue shook her head and stopped thinking about the bird. She looked at the ship and made up her mind to go on it. Even if she didn't die here, she didn't want to live like this. After remembering her memories of Yimo, she would go crazy living by herself. Seeing Ning Qingxue walk towards that ship, the bird followed her. Ning Qingxue stopped and looked at the bird with curiosity. She muttered to herself, "I'm leaving here, why are you following me?" As though he understood Ning Qingxue's words, the bird mourned and flew around Ning Qingxue again. Ning Qingxue saw pleading in the bird's eyes. Ning Qingxue was sure she saw it. This bird was so humanistic. Ning Qingxue rubbed her red eyes and headed towards the ship. Seeing Ning Qingxue leave, the white bird yowled again and followed Ning Qingxue circling around her. Ning Qingxue finally understood that the bird was trying to tell her something. "Do you want something from me?" Ning Qingxue asked. But then, she realized, how could a bird understand her words? But then, the bird nodded its head vigorously. Ning Qingxue was frozen. Could a bird this smart exist? What did it want with her though? Ning Qingxue took out a can from her bag and put it in front of the bird. Do you want to eat this? The bird flew down and grabbed the can with his mouth. He put it back on Ning Qingxue's hand and flew around her again. Ning Qingxue understood this time and looked at this bird in shock. Do you want me to take you with me? As soon as Ning Qingxue said this, the bird nodded its head again. Ning Qingxue frowned. Is this island not great? There are also people living here. Furthermore, not even I know if I can survive in the ocean. Your survival is uncertain. The bird heard Ning Qingxue's words and opened its wings, circling on the top of Ning Qingxue's head. It yowled while flying to the center of the island, and then returned back to Ning Qingxue. Other than anticipation, there was also melancholy in its eyes. Ning Qingxue felt the bird had a special bond with her. Was it due to her cultivation? Otherwise, there were so many primitive men there, why didn't it go find them instead of her? Suddenly, Ning Qingxue remembered that the bird had been yowling about something going on in the center of the island. Did that mean the volcano was about to erupt? But, since there were so many primitive people there, it meant that the island had existed for a long time. How could the volcano coincidentally erupt at that moment? Thinking about this, Ning Qingxue asked, are you saying that this island's volcano is about to erupt? Do you want to leave? As soon as Ning Qingxue just finished speaking, the bird vigorously nodded its head. Ning Qingxue looked at the bird with joy. There was rarely such smart bird. At least Ning Qingxue had never heard of it. And this bird was willing to go with her. If that was the case, then she would have a companion with her on the way back. It was much better than being alone on a glacier. However, Ning Qingxue was very curious how this bird had arrived to the island. Looking at the more and more intense sulfur air eruptions in the center of the island, she believed that the bird was right. This island's volcano was about to erupt. Okay, in that case, follow me for now. I'm going to that ship, there might be danger there, follow me in the air. Ning Qingxue was liking the white-feathered and humane bird more and more. Ning Qingxue saw that there was a silver plum tree leaf pattern under the bird's neck and had a sudden idea. I'll give you a name, I'll call you Silver Plum Leaf. This name is a bit long, I'll just call you Silver. Ning Qingxue saw that there was a silver plum tree leaf pattern under the bird's neck and had a sudden idea. I'll give you a name, I'll call you Silver Plum Leaf. This name is a bit long, I'll just call you Silver. The bird seemingly understood Ning Qingxue's words and chirped. This sounded different to the yowling, it was a happy sound. She could tell that it didn't really understand what Ning Qingxue meant with that name. After all, it was just a bird. Normally, animals have premonitions to sense danger. Since Silver had had this premonition, this meant that the volcano really was about to erupt. Although she had Silver by her side, Silver was a bird after all. Ning Qingxue approached the ship, the hand which held the gun was sweating a lot. Sometimes, the unknown was the most terrifying. If she had been facing a lion or a tiger, she might have not been that scared. After all, it was something she could see. As she got closer to the ship, Ning Qingxue had an uneasy feeling. She couldn't just charge at it like the primitive people had done. Her surroundings were eerily silent. If there weren't clustered footprints, Ning Qingxue couldn't have been really sure that they had all gone on the ship. Ning Qingxue jumped aboard and immediately felt a bleak wind attacking her. The necklace on her chest emitted a light barrier and pushed the bleak wind away. Ning Qingxue could even faintly hear a scream. Silver flew to the top of the boat behind Ning Qingxue. Its expression was worried like Huss. Ning Qingxue looked at the necklace. She knew it had saved her once again. She subconsciously looked back at Silver and felt a little assured. She said to Silver, "Stay behind me." Silver immediately jumped down and followed Ning Qingxue closely. Ning Qingxue looked around the ship, it was empty. Ning Qingxue stopped on the deck and her spirit sense scanned inside. It was the same as yesterday, a table of food and wine, mostly cooked food, but she couldn't see a single person. Suddenly, she felt her spirit sense scan a black shadow, but immediately after, it was gone and it looked like it had gone into the bottom bunker. Ning Qingxue stopped. She felt goosebumps. She hadn't expected her spirit sense to be able to detect that shadow. So, the spirit sense could see things the eyes couldn't. She was scared of what she couldn't see. Once she saw it, she was no longer scared. Ning Qingxue walked into the ship's compartments. There were 2 levels, the surface level and the bottom bunker. Ning Qingxue remembered that the black shadow disappeared into the bottom bunker. At that moment, her spirit sense found a black shadow charging at her. Ning Qingxue subconsciously moved aside and sprayed her gun at the shadow. Bang bang bang. It had been an extraordinarily clear sound in the silent boat, but Ning Qingxue could see the black shadow retreat back inside unscathed. Her gun had no effect on the shadow. It was really a ghost. Ning Qingxue's hands shook. If Silver didn't chirp from time to time, she would have gone crazy by then, being in the depth of a boundless ocean on a spooky boat. She remembered the shriek in the heaven pit at Shenongjia. If Yi Mo hadn't left her a protection charm, she would have died. But that day, she seemed to be facing an even stronger Gowl. From what Yi Mo had said, they weren't afraid of bullets. If Yi Mo hadn't given her the necklace, she would have ended up like those primitive men. Thinking about this, Ning Qingxue shook again. Were all the people aboard this ship killed by the Gowl like the primitive people? Why was the Gowl doing this? When the Gowl had charged at her, she felt as though it was trying to devour her soul. Did these Gowls devour people's souls? She wouldn't have believed in these sort of stuff before she started cultivated either, but there were many things in this world that science couldn't explain. Ning Qingxue looked at Silver, who was following her closely, and she felt a little relived. She put the gun away, took out a fireball charm and walked into the bottom bunker. She knew that the gun was useless. It was a pity Yi Mo wasn't there. If he were there, he could see that the Gowl was similar to the one he had annihilated at Chun'an. However, the Gowl had been purposely raised by the red-robed woman from the Nine Moon sect. Normally, people's spirits disappeared naturally from the world after death. That some spirits condense and don't dissolve must be due to some special reason. Ning Qingxue kept her spirit sense open. As soon as she went into the bottom bunker, she found the black shadow hiding on the side. However, with her power, she could only see a black figure. If it had been Yi Mo, he would have been able to see that the spirit had a solid, not mist-like, shape. He would have immediately realized that there must be a ghost keeper behind that Gowl, just like the red-robed woman. When Ning Qingxue saw the Gowl, she felt scared but still gathered up courage and walked towards it. But she had only walked 2 steps when she stopped, changing directions. She remembered the speed of the Gowl, it was too fast. And, she was sure the Gowl would be able to see her if she walked over, she wouldn't be able to ambush it for sure. As soon as Ning Qingxue changed directions, the black figure that was about to move stopped. Food and water splashed everywhere. Ning Qingxue avoided these things, and neared the shadow. When she was just about 3 meters from it, Ning Qingxue threw out her fireball charm and yelled Lin. The black shadow didn't expect Ning Qingxue to suddenly do this. In that instant, it got consumed by the fireball. There was a loud shriek, then, the fireball disappeared and so did the black shadow along with it. Ning Qingxue breathed, relieved. Finally, the Gowl had been annihilated. The fireball charm was stronger than a submachine gun. But Ning Qingxue immediately realized, it wasn't that the fireball charm was stronger than the gun, but more like the fireball charm was more effective against ghosts. Ning Qingxue searched the bottom bunker again and couldn't find anything strange. She didn't know how lucky she had been this time. This Gowl was a Gowl that escaped after Yi Mo killed the red-robed woman. Somehow, it was taken to America and went on the beamer. When the pirates took the women, it also followed them. Those people had made it stronger. However, its master was killed by Yi Mo. It fed following basic instincts. If Ning Qingxue hadn't had the necklace, she would have died countless times. Or, if that red-robed woman was still there, Ning Qingxue still wouldn't have been able to escape. As though it knew that Ning Qingxue had annihilated the Gowl, Silver chirped celebrating her master's victory. Ning Qingxue wiped some sweat off her forehead and waved to Silver. They walked up to the surface. Although she had annihilated the Gowl, she really didn't want to stay in the bottom bunker. She could guess that the entirety of the people in the ship were gone due to the Gowl, so she didn't feel like staying in that dark bleak bunker. Returning to the top, Ning Qingxue remembered an important thing. She didn't know how to pilot the ship nor use the sail to control the direction. Ning Qingxue smiled bitterly and walked to the head of the ship. Suddenly, she was dazed. The ship had been perched next to the island, and she didn't control the sails. But now, the ship was far from that island. Chapter 418, Volcano on the Sea. Chapter 418, Volcano on the Sea. Although the ship didn't have an anchor, it stayed next to the island for a day and night. How come as soon as she annihilated the Gowl, the ship left? Ning Qingxue suddenly remembered something. A few days ago, when the ship went past her glacier, she thought to have heard rustling on the ship. Had the black shadow also caused that? Thinking about this, all of a sudden, there was sound in the basement. Ning Qingxue stood up abruptly. She scanned her spirit sense down, but there was nothing. At that moment, the ship was on its way and Ning Qingxue couldn't find anything with her spirit sense. She didn't have the courage to go down there a second time. She felt the necklace on her chest and rested easy a little. Although she couldn't see the Gowl, she had her defense necklace. Silver didn't seem to notice there was something down there, and still jumped around at the top of the ship. Ning Qingxue suddenly said, "I don't care what you are, but if you dare to come up again, I'll use this fireball on you. You can stay on the ship, but if you disturb me and Silver, I will make you disappear immediately." Although it was a threat, Ning Qingxue was scared while saying this. As though whatever was inside feared Ning Qingxue's words, no more sounds came from below again. Ning Qingxue breathed at ease. It seemed her threat had worked. She threw all the desk and chairs into the sea and found a place to sit. The thing probably wasn't afraid of her, but afraid of her necklace. Silver saw Ning Qingxue sit down, and jumped next to her. Suddenly, there was a rumble. Fire crossed half of the sky, hence, Ning Qingxue stood up and walked to the head of the ship, where Silver was. She noticed that the sulfur island was in flames. Lava burst into the air with dust and smoke. It even splashed the ship Ning Qingxue was on. The volcano had erupted. If she had hesitated before, she would have been turned into dust on the island. Looking at the strength of the eruption, Ning Qingxue knew the island was gone and so was the primitive tribe on it. Although she didn't know them, Ning Qingxue still felt sad. Human life was this weak in the awakening of nature's power. At that moment, Yi Mo was on the fishing ship. He had stopped where Eden first escaped. Other than wind, there was nothing else. There were no signs of the incident. Eden saw that Yi Mo's face wasn't happy and said, "I think those pirates are long gone." Yi Mo sneered but didn't say anything. At that moment, there was a huge explosion in the distance and then a burst of lava into the air. "Oh my God, it's a volcanic eruption. This is amazingly grand, yet terrifying," Eden exclaimed. Was it some active volcanic island? This was the first time Yi Mo saw a volcanic eruption. He felt uneasy. "Eden, drive the boat over to the volcanic eruption." Eden was dazed. The eruption had just started. If they drove the ship over and got caught in it, how could they live? Seeing Eden still hesitate, Yi Mo's expression sunk and said, "Eden, do you think you can get Daphne with balls like that?" Eden blushed and immediately said, "I'm not being timid, this is being reasonable. If we pilot the boat over, we might get caught in the volcanic eruption." "You're wrong if you think there's only one place where lava erupts. There are other active spots under the ocean. If we get closer, one of them might erupt right under us." Yi Mo said plainly, "You talk so much, but all I'm really getting is that you're afraid die. If you fear death, then let me pilot." Yi Mo didn't kick him off the boat this time. After all, he couldn't have said that on a whim. Eden didn't reply to Yi Mo, and just piloted the ship to the volcanic island. He drove very fast, as though he was trying to prove to Yi Mo he wasn't afraid of death. Yi Mo smiled. However, neither Yi Mo nor Ning Qingxue could expect that their ships would brush past each other. One was leaving the island, the other one went there. The fishing boat soon was in the range of the island. There was just lava everywhere. Even at such a distance, one could feel the scorching heat. Yi Mo looked at the endless lava and said helplessly, "Let's go." He knew that even if there had been any evidence on the island, it was gone now. Eden wanted Yimo to say that. As soon as Yimo said it, he piloted the ship away. Yimo was getting impatient, after not having been able to find Ning Qingxue for days. After spending 2 days with Yimo, Eden also knew that Yimo had come there to find his wife. He had the feeling that they were both on the same predicament. Yimo knew he was being impetuous, and he sat at the top of the ship in silence. He used cultivation to calm himself. Eden saw this and shut his mouth. He focused on controlling the ship and using the radar. 6 hours later, a bright moon appeared in the sky. The night sea was quiet and calm, unlike the day. Eden thought about how lucky they had been not to have encountered any storms. If they did, their boat could sink easily. Yimo finished a big meridian cycle, and felt easy and calm. At that moment, he heard Eden scream. "What's wrong?" Yimo immediately appeared next to Eden. Eden didn't even notice how Yimo had come, he just pointed at the radar screen excitedly. "I found 2 targets, 50 nautical miles away." Yimo stood up and said, "Then what are you waiting for? Let's approach them." Ning Qingxue didn't know how to control a boat. Furthermore, even if she did, she wouldn't know which direction to go. She could only pull the sails as high as possible, and let the ship go on its own. In less than half a day, Ning Qingxue encountered another ship. If it wasn't for Silver, she wouldn't have even known there was another ship driving towards them. Because Ning Qingxue needed to cultivate, she told Silver to guard her. She stopped due to Silver's chirps of alarm. Ning Qingxue looked at the direction Silver pointed with her head. There really was a ship. It was still blurry, but under the moonlight she could confirm it was a ship and it was driving towards her. Was she saved? The first thought she had was that she could finally see Yimo. As long as a ship brought her on land, then no matter which country it was, she could get back. When the ship got closer, Ning Qingxue saw the flag on that ship. Her face immediately went pale. Her new hope was gone, now she felt horror. The ship was exactly the same as hers and one could see the upside-down skull. The owner of this ship was probably from the same group as that ship. Now that those people had caught up, what could she do? The ship was clearly heading towards her. Ning Qingxue grabbed her gun. She could see the people on that ship. There were at least tens of people on it. Ning Qingxue wouldn't naively think that a proper ship would had such a flag. This was obviously a pirate ship. Ning Qingxue really wanted to put her sails down and go on another direction, but she didn't know how to pilot the ship. Seeing the ship near her, Ning Qingxue gave up on trying to control the ship with sails and grabbed her gun. Seeing the ship near her, Ning Qingxue gave up on trying to control the ship with sails and grabbed her gun. As the ship appeared before her eyes, the tens of people on it stared straight at Ning Qingxue, their eyes like those of ravenous wolves. It was as though they couldn't see the gun in her hands at all but only the goddess-like Ning Qingxue. There were about 10 meters in between them, but Ning Qingxue actually heard them gulping from that distance. Her heart sunk. She wanted to open fire but she wouldn't be able to kill this many pirates with her gun. God, such a beautiful woman. I must have her. The leading white man sighed. Although it was English, Ning Qingxue could understand it. "Sean, that is our leader's ship. That woman is there, but how come I don't see our leader?" At this moment, the bulky man next to that white man remembered their purpose. They came to find their lost leader, not pretty women. However, this woman was too beautiful. These words made everyone on the ship refocus. They didn't see their leader on their leader's ship yet saw an insanely beautiful woman. In this boundless sea, this seemed a little creepy. She's actually holding a gun, haha. There was laughter everywhere, no one took her gun seriously. "Put your gun down and come to our ship," a man yelled through a horn to Ning Qingxue. Ning Qingxue could hear their words clearly, and as she understood English, she now knew what her fate would be were she to fall in their hands. Ning Qingxue suddenly saw the leader raise his hand, and a white light came howling at her wrist. Flying dart? Ning Qingxue reacted instantaneously yet didn't manage to dodge it. Before the dart could strike her, it was blocked by a white light. Ning Qingxue knew it had to be the necklace protecting her again. She looked down at it. It had gotten a lot dimmer. Ning Qingxue felt very angry. She didn't expect these foreigners to be so good at using projectiles. She immediately grabbed the gun and started shooting at them. Those pirates were experienced though. The moment Ning Qingxue raised her gun, almost everyone squatted down. Other than one unlucky guy who was struck by a bullet, everyone else had dodged it. She knew that the reason she was even able to fire her weapon at all was because these pirates didn't want to kill her and wanted her alive. Ning Qingxue quickly hid inside the ship as the pirates just kept sailing forward. After a few gunshots, she noticed the sails on the ship were down, and it had stopped its rapid speed. Ning Qingxue suddenly felt sad. Not because she was about to die to pirates, but because she didn't get to see Yi Mo. She wasn't afraid of death, but she didn't want to die like this. She didn't even get to see Yi Mo to say sorry and make up for what she did. Ning Qingxue changed the clip. She only had 2 in total. Silver snuck up to Ning Qingxue as though feeling Ning Qingxue's helplessness. It could only whimper every now and then. "Woman, put down your weapon and walk out. We promise we won't hurt you, but if you resist any more, we will blow up your ship," the voice sounded again. Ning Qingxue bit her lips and ran out from the crevice spraying bullets once more. This time, she hit 2 people. The remaining people seemed to have been angered by her. Despite their anger though, they still didn't shoot, afraid of hurting Ning Qingxue. 2 bombs landed on Ning Qingxue's ship, immediately blasting out 2 large holes on the head of the ship. They didn't bomb any further and kept on threatening through the horn. Ning Qingxue hid in one corner with Silver. She knew she only had around bullets left. If she started shooting once more, she would run out of bullets. Even though her fireball charm was powerful, it could only kill around 3 people. Just when Ning Qingxue was desperately thinking of ideas, she felt the ship shake. Ning Qingxue subconsciously looked back at the ship's head. A metal anchor had landed on the ship directly into the hole. The reason why those pirates had blasted holes on the ship was to land their anchor. A white rope connected the anchor to their ship. Ning Qingxue knew she had no path of retreat now. Ning Qingxue suddenly stood up. She was going to fire her gun one last time before jumping into the sea to commit suicide. "Silver, after I jump into the sea, fly away. There might be an island nearby. That will be much better than staying here and waiting to die." Ning Qingxue patted Silver's plumage. She would miss this bird. If it wasn't for Silver accompanying her, she would have felt like it was torture staying on this ghost ship. But Silver had given her courage. With Silver's company, she was even able to cultivate. Silver could clearly understand her as it started whimpering, but suddenly, it stopped. It started chirping instead and pulled Ning Qingxue's sleeve with its beak, as though wanting her to take a look at something. Ning Qingxue subconsciously looked in the direction Silver was pointing with its beak. She saw another boat come over. Silver intended for her to get on that boat and escape. Ning Qingxue smiled bitterly. That ship was fast indeed, but she could see that it was merely a fishing boat. She stopped paying it any heed back and patted Silver's feathers. "That's a fishing boat. The people on it can't even protect themselves. How can they save us?" The other ship's people also noticed the fishing boat and pointed their guns at it. Once the boat got in their shooting range, they would fire at it. The reason they didn't deal killing blows to Ning Qingxue's ship was on one hand because it was their leader's ship, and on the other hand because Ning Qingxue was such an otherworldly beauty. When it came to pirates, they only pursued 2 things in life: money and women. However, what they didn't understand was that this fishing boat didn't avoid them yet actually accelerated as it sped over. What they didn't understand even more was how there could be a fishing boat this deep in open water. Eden saw from far away that the 2 ships he'd detected with his radar had skull flags on them. He wanted to change course right away, but Yi Mo stopped him. Eden didn't know what Yi Mo's name was, so he could only call out desperately, "Those 2 ships are the ones I talked about. Those are pirate ships. They have weapons. It's suicide if we go there." Yi Mo walked slowly to the head of the ship and said, "Wasn't your Daphne taken by them?" Eden said without hesitation, "Yes, they were the ones who took her away. They killed countless passengers on the beamer and took all the women aboard. They're demons." Yi Mo sneered, "Even though these demons took your Daphne, you're not going to save her." Instead, you're going to run away? I don't think your love for her was genuine at all. In that case, you can run away, but I need to go over and have a look. Of course Yi Mo was going over. He wouldn't let anyone he saw in this region of the sea go just like that. What if these people knew where Ning Qingxue was? No, it's suicide to go there. I will go back to call for help to save Daphne. Otherwise I'll die for nothing. With Daphne still not being saved, Eden saw that Yi Mo was misunderstanding him and quickly explained. Approaching it from Eden's perspective, Yi Mo knew that he was right. It would mean suicide for him to go there if he were alone. Yi Mo smiled. Eden, if you trust me, then come with me to save your Daphne. If you don't, then get on your hoop and flee. These pirates are no threat to me, but you need to choose fast. Our ship is nearing theirs. Eden's face changed rapidly and eventually, he sighed. Even if he didn't trust Yi Mo, it was too late now anyway. He was only a couple 100 meters away from the two ships. Even if he did jump now, he would be seen and caught by the pirates. If he was going to die either way, he might as well go along with this bold Chinese guy and fight. Rumble! A bomb landed at the rim of the boat. Eden felt the boat shake. He knew it was over now. The pirates were firing without an ounce of hesitation. Eden tried to control the boat to go a little further. Then, he yelled to Yi Mo at the head of the boat, "Get in quickly, I need to change direction." But as soon as he finished saying this, he realized in shock that the Chinese guy was gone. He had still been standing at the head of the ship a moment ago, yet after that cannon blast, he was gone. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.